Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hanson, joined by Javy Gwaltney.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, what's up, everybody? They're not going to get back to you. We have Kyle Hilliard here.
All right. Yeah, I'm here.
And then we have the ghost in the machine himself, news editor Mike Futter from New Jersey.
Woohoo! Hey, how's it going?
Good. This is over Skype. If you're just listening to the audio version, if you're looking at the video version on YouTube, you can see Mike Futter's wonderful living room. It's really something to behold.
That's probably his office.
Right. I actually just live in here.
Oh, in the box.
In the screen.
Fantastic.
Oh. Box, yes.
Fascinating.
So in this episode of the podcast, we're covering, it seems like a bizarre grab bag. We're going to talk a little bit about Battlefield 1 finally. It seems weird that it hasn't come up on the podcast since E3, really, but I'm excited to talk about it with JV because he's played it.
Mm-hmm.
Talking a little bit about some Evolve news with Mike Futter. Talking a little bit about Dead by Daylight. Are you cool talking about that, Mike?
Yeah. My
Great.
review will be up by now.
There we go.
By the time you are seeing this, it will be up.
Perfect. And then we got Kyle on here to talk about BoxBox Boy.
Yeah, just BoxBox Boy.
Okay, great.
BoxBox Man.
And then some other gizmos here and there. Then we got reader emails. And then for the final segment, we're bringing back Skype calls from the community. So we're going to have a bunch of people calling in and asking us a bunch of bizarre random questions. And it should be a good time. I always look forward to that segment. It's always fun.
You would.
Hey, let's start out talking about Battlefield 1. This is one of the biggest games at E3 this year, and we haven't really covered it. But JV, give me the lay of the land. How much have you played of this game?
I played about 2 hours of it. That's how much time they gave us at the event. And I played 2 maps. First was Traditional Conquest, which is like the Battlefield mode. You know, you have like 60-something players competing for control points and their vehicles. And then a little bit of Domination, which is more like just a giant team deathmatch. And it was in a village where we were all hiding in different houses and whatnot, just shooting at each other.
Oh, so they were shooting at each other, Kyle, just in case you're wondering how this
just blasting each other to pieces. So yeah, I enjoyed my time with it.
You seemed like you were building up to a disappointment.
It is so far for me, it's kind of like just another modern dice game. Like you spend the first 20 minutes going, whoa, this looks incredible. I'm hiding beneath this table, which has like scud marks in it and it has a sheen and it looks so great and bullets are just tearing it to pieces.
Classic dice table.
Yeah. And everything's just being blown to hell all around you. But then, you get past the sort of technical wow of it and it's like, oh, I'm playing Battlefield. And like, that's fine, but it's just, the wow goes away super quick.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I edited the video because we were able to capture some of you playing. It's up on the site if you want to see JV run around like a maniac and really inspect the hell out of this table. Yeah, the people at Dice and
that's the whole gameplay footage, just me looking at various tables.
Yeah, but I love Battlefield 1942, and so I was really, really excited to see Battlefield 1. And it's like, oh my God, World War I, the trailers were so great. I'm so excited. And then you see it and there is a moment of, oh, okay, it's just a Battlefield game. Like, It's a little bit of like that Battlefront realization where your mind's just reeling with like, this is going to sound so good, it's going to look so good. Then you see it and be like, all right, it's about right. That's technically what it should look like.
Does it feel slower? Like, are the guns slower? It still has the same pace as like
No, it's still just as frenzied.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have to muzzle load. I'm not big on history.
Don't make that motion for video people. That's the thing. Like the cool thing is I interviewed a producer over there at Dice at E3. That video's up and whatnot, and he was talking about a couple things that got me really excited about it. And one of them is just talking about the era that we're working with, World War I, obviously, and how tanks weren't really unified and all the vehicles, like. It was all so new at that time. It's not like they had like the lockdown tank design. So every tank you have is just like completely different. Like this one's for one person. This one's for 3 people. This one has 14 treads. This one's bright purple. Like no one knows what the hell's going on. It's just experimental, bizarre tech. And that seems really fun just to have some new vehicles to mess around with in a Battlefield game.
Right. Yeah. It was fun. During that gameplay footage, you can actually like find me trying like 3 different tanks and they're all very different. And one of them just looked like a spinny top with turrets on it. Like I don't even think it had a cannon. Like it was just like 2 machine gun turrets just sort of going down the battlefield.
So it was pretty much like Atari combat.
Exactly.
That's what they modeled that for World War I. Yeah.
They're really going back.
The other thing that was really exciting that this guy was talking about is I feel like every year, every Battlefield, they always hype up the destruction. Like this time we're getting back to Bad Company levels of destruction. It's going to be crazy. But it seemed like with this one especially, they're taking it up a notch. And he was saying that like, yeah, end of the battlefield, like there's going to be craters everywhere. Houses will be leveled. It'll look completely different.
Yeah.
Did you see that when you played?
Oh yeah, there was a moment early on, like 3 minutes in, where I'm walking past because you on Conquest you have to control like actual like windmills. That's where the control points are. And I saw
that was Kyle and Mike. If you're not familiar with history, it was a battle over windmills.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The
So
Don
Don
Quixote
Quixote
battle.
was one of the
Yeah.
generals.
I like that joke, Mike.
But yeah, there was one point where someone was flying a biplane and it just flew over me and crashed into the windmill, and it just blew the windmill apart. Like it was just clearly like a suicide run to try and get at me and like 2 other people were on the ground, but they missed, hit the windmill and just blew everything apart. And later in Domination, when you're hiding in the actual houses, and it has like the machine gun nest and whatnot, they'll be taken apart, like windows, walls, everything. It's not quite like Rainbow Six, the newest Rainbow Six Siege levels of destructibility, but it's almost there. Like I was hiding in a hallway at one point, and bullets were ripping it to shreds. So it's pretty fun.
I just imagine you like being in one of those houses and that table getting shot to pieces and
Yeah.
being
Slow motion.
sad.
No,
diving in front of the bullets to save the
And I've named the table Bessie or something.
Because this feels like the game that you're making right now. Battlefield Antiquing.
I do just want to like take my time and just try and soak in that world. And like from the multiplayer maps that I watched you play, it's a little bit like it's tough to really get a sense of this era fully through that. And that's why I'm hopeful for the single player campaign, I guess, which they weren't saying too much of. I guess all we really know is it does exist in some form, and it's going to have you jumping from like environment to environment, jumping between different characters with some connecting thread.
Right.
Maybe it'll be a dog, just like Valiant Hearts from Ubisoft or something. I don't know.
The
But
same exact plot.
yeah, but they're also their big talking bit with the campaign, and I think they've also said this every time, so take it with a grain of salt, is like, we want more Battlefield moments in the campaign. We want to open things up, give more tools to the player, create some crazy stuff. So they're saying the right things.
I find Battlefield campaigns fascinating. Like 3 to Hardline, like they're not great, but they are strange and kind of wondrous in parts. Like just narratively, especially. Did you guys play the end of Battlefield 4?
I played the last one I played was I think I played the first couple hours of 3.
Yeah, 4 is the one that opens with like what is it?
Some 80s song.
It's a turnaround.
Yeah, turn around.
Yeah, what is the name of that song though?
Right now.
Is it not
Total
Turnaround?
Eclipse of the Heart.
Total Eclipse
yeah,
of the
Total
Heart.
Eclipse.
Thank you. And they're like in the car drowning. It's a striking opening to ultimately what type of game?
A very strange one. Like the
Okay.
game ends and it's just like a cliffhanger out of nowhere. Like they build up this huge plot and then it just feels like they said, okay, we've got to rush this. You know, we've got to get this out because this is the next gen Battlefield, and it just ends.
To be continued in Battlefield 1.
Like it's just so strange.
Maybe they're going for a level of surrealness because it is the same director that campaign as Quantum Break, and also Alan Wake. So there we go. Full connection.
Hardline was super weird too. Did you guys play that?
We did
I know
a
that's
test
by
chamber of it.
Visceral. I know that's different developer, but it's still like super strange.
It has those strange Battlefield moments. Like, I have no idea why they made this choice.
So, are you excited for this game, JV? I'm still trying to get a sense. You seem to be in. It's Battlefield.
I'll
mode.
play it when it comes out.
Really? Were you disappointed by anything other than just it didn't wow you?
Yeah, it just didn't wow me.
Are you like a Battlefield guy?
Like
do you
I have played all of them.
Okay, but
every
are
single
you
one.
like you really get into like Matt Burtz? I would consider like the sort of the Battlefield guy. Like really gets into multiplayer, has like a team that he plays with. Like, do you get to that level, or you kind of enjoy the campaign?
I mean, I used to be at that level in the
Okay.
older days, like 1942 and Vietnam and whatnot. Like
Okay.
I'd have like dedicated groups with people and we'd play those matches. But now it's just I'm more of a jump in and sort of work with people to the extent that I can. I'm not really someone who like goes out and tries to build like a clan or anything.
Gotcha.
That's not my thing.
I
anymore.
do admire like I still, even though like the sort of just the fact that it's World War One, like that level of excitement has kind of dissipated. I still really appreciate that they're going like against what Call of Duty is doing and going back to World War One. I still think that's really interesting. I'm interested to see how it kind of plays out.
Yeah, I'm more excited for Battlefield 1 than I am Call of Duty Star Wars.
And you went on that cover story.
Yeah, I
trip.
did. I did.
I don't know. I do like space battles in Call of Duty. I think there were a couple in Ghosts, right? Those
In the
were best-
beginning, you
those
had
were
like
the
a
best part of the
shootout.
game. Like
Yeah.
I liked being in. I'm a big fan of stuff going wrong in space, just in general, games, movies. If something's going
life.
wrong in space, like I'm like, all right, I want to see what happens here.
It's perfect. The one thing with Battlefield 1 that has me a little bit worried or that I hope they change before release, is like the sound of the announcer. As Bert's put it, it's basically Siri in World War One. It's just like GLaDOS robotic voice lady talking about Charlie Point.
That's how they talked back
Oh,
then,
and they
man.
call- I don't-
accents evolve over time. You know,
I don't know if they changed this for the later versions, but when we were playing the version they had set up, she would just have code names for the objectives, and it'd be like apples. Like objective A, it's apples.
So if you want Siri to yell at you about apples, play Battlefield.
Is it
1.
like-
and B is butter, and it's just like these people are really, really hungry.
is it like a lady screaming to go get apples? Like everyone, go get the apples.
No,
That
she's
sounds pretty
She
great. I don't
just-
know what you guys are complaining about.
Yeah,
She's just saying it matter of factly. The enemies have control of objective apples,
But all right.
and then it's just okay. Let's go to objective apples.
Remember when this game was announced and there was like a wave of people that were like, World War One is kind of too effed up. They shouldn't really touch it. It's weird to consider World War One more sacred than World War Two, being more recent, and we're much more familiar with it. And I was like, oh, that's silly. It'll be cool to go back to that time frame and stuff. But we've talked about it on the podcast before, but I've continued listening to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. They have this 6-part series called Blueprint for Armageddon. And I'm like halfway through it now, and it's like 16 hours long or something absurd. It's really good. If you want to get ready for Battlefield 1, I highly recommend it. But it has gotten to a point that's just really emotional and bizarre. Like I was driving home over the 4th of July weekend, and on the drive out there, they covered, it's the famous story about like over Christmas time, everybody putting their weapons aside and like seeing weird lights in the distance from like the German trenches and assuming it's some crazy weapon. Then they realize like, well, those are Christmas lights. And then everybody gets together and plays soccer in the snow. And it's like, I was near tears hearing this story. And then late at night, I was driving on these scary country roads, and it was just the entire story about the Germans deciding to use gas for the first time. It is exquisitely effed up. It was like one of the craziest horror stories I've ever heard. Maybe I'm just a scared guy driving on the roads at night, but hearing stories of like no one knew what this was, and it's just this slow wave of like greenish yellow gas that like it's moving about as fast as you would walk. So it's just slowly coming across the battlefield, and everyone's like staring at it. There's all these letters of people writing about the experience, trying to figure out what the hell this is. And then it hits like a trench next to them, and they just see everybody running and screaming and like vomiting out liquids. I'm sorry, it's going to get graphic. And there's just crazy stories about like guys dying from this gas and clawing at their own throat, like ripping their own throat out. But one of them was like missing a hand that was shot off. He didn't know. So he was trying to claw his own throat out with a hand that was missing, just a bloody stump. It is insane. And so now there's a part of me that's like hesitant to get into Battlefield 1 just because I have such a weird reverence for the history of World War 1
Right.
because of this podcast series now.
So like just the idea of like almost giving it that AAA game approach is what you're talking about is
Yeah.
like maybe it will clash with your knowledge of the history of World War One, I guess, right?
It could be. I don't want to be too somber about it. Like, it's
Yeah.
still a game. They should be allowed to make a game during that setting. But I will be thinking about like these crazy personal letters of these horrors that all these guys experienced about like just the amount of bodies that were in the trenches. Like every time they try and dig the trench deeper, it's like, oh, here's a ton of bodies from 2 weeks ago that we tried to cover it up because they just literally cannot move from these trenches for months and months and months. And it was before a time, sorry, I'm just going to relate this podcast. It was before a time where like the generals knew to rotate people in. So the people that were at the front lines were at the front lines for months and months and months. And they all, their brains just shattered because generals didn't realize it, like didn't appreciate shell shock at that point, if you want to call it that old fashioned term. But
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see because they do definitely gamify the violence of that era and turn it down. Like the mustard gas
Yeah.
bits, it's just if you stand in it, you take damage and you die. Like there's no grotesque like people clawing at their throats and whatnot. So I'm
Right.
interested to see how Battlefield 1's because like any horrifying violence that's going to happen in Battlefield 1 is going to happen in the single player campaign, and I'm very sure they will like have at least one sequence that's like, oh, look at the horrors of this war, just because.
turn around.
But I'm curious to like compare Battlefield 1 to Valiant Hearts.
Yeah.
Because Valiant Hearts has a very disturbing sequence. Have you guys all played it to the end?
Yeah.
I haven't.
With like a mound of bodies that you just come
Right,
across, and
right.
it's super messed up.
God, that game is so cool.
Valiant Hearts is
Except for the
really cool.
gameplay. Everything else is just the coolest thing that Ubisoft has made in a long time. But then it's just a bunch of crappy puzzles. But still really worth playing if you've never checked out Valiant Hearts. Okay, so cautiously optimistic about Battlefield.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say, JB?
Yeah. I mean, I will play it when it comes out, and I cannot say that for like a lot of games that I see previews for. You know,
What game won't you play when it comes out?
Watch Dogs do probably.
All right,
Good answer.
that's fair.
Good answer.
Hey, a game that we might all have to check out again, that Mike Futter knows a lot about, is this Evolve. Remember that thing from last year?
Yeah, so Evolve is coming back. I mean, it never really went away. Well, sort of. So Evolve Stage 2, we covered this morning. So essentially what's happening is a lot of people said when Evolve was launched that, hey, this should be a free-to-play game. And Turtle Rock decided, hey, we're going to make it a free-to-play game on PC.
Is it really called Evolve Stage 2?
It is really called Evolve Stage 2.
They should have just called it Evolved or something. You think they could come up with a better name than that?
Evolving.
Oh man!
Because now it implies
There's no
a
colon
Stage
if that
3.
matters to you. It's
It
just Evolve
does.
Stage 2.
It
Stage
really
3
matters
is
a
they
lot.
literally pay you to play the game.
Now look, the old wives' tale version of this, the popular wisdom is, oh boy, Evolve, no one's playing it, what a disaster. Mike, I know you're hesitant about these stats, but like I looked at like the Steam Spy stats, and like it sold over 500,000 copies. Like it's not a disaster on Steam.
Well, it sold more than that. It sold 2.5 million. I
on
believe.
everything. Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say yes, 2.5 million. Now I want to look it up.
Well, I was looking at that story recently, and it was 2.5 across. Like that's how many were shipped.
And for a new IP,
They
that's
shipped
that's great.
2.5 million, and that's across digital too.
But the issue is that it's not that it didn't sell well out of the gate; it's that just nobody kept up with it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it went through the Titanfall thing where it started very strong, and then the player base fell off very quickly.
Mhm.
So here's what they're doing with free to play. If you own it on PC, you have been updated to Stage 2 at this point.
Huh.
What that means is you can still play the vanilla version. You can still opt to play that. It is an option. But anybody can now download it and play for free. Anybody who owned it is considered a founder and will be getting goodies heaped on them over time. And plus you have all of the stuff that you owned. So if you had the big edition on PC, I can't remember what it's called, like the one that came with both season passes that give you all the extra hunters and the 2 extra monsters and all that stuff. You still have all that stuff. All the cosmetics, which is where Turtle Rock and 2K got really dinged when that game launched in February 2015 because it had $63 worth of cosmetics at launch. Cosmetics.
Yeah.
So you can earn all of those now. You get there's a currency called silver keys. You can earn them by playing. You can buy them. You can use them to unlock new hunters, new monsters, new skins. The only thing you can't unlock with silver keys are a few specific customization items, and those are unlocked through progression.
So do you start with just like was it 4 characters and then you unlock the other ones like in the deeper tiers as you go forward?
You can choose which ones to unlock.
Right.
So if you like to play one position in particular, if you like to play Trapper, you can just unlock all the Trappers with silver keys. Now, there are a couple of major gameplay changes. They wanted to make the game more accessible. So, and I know that's kind of a dirty word to a lot of people, but one of the things they were finding was that there is a very hardcore, like the people who really played that game played it very competitively. And the Trapper position in particular was probably the position that required the most skill because that was the position that could set down that dome that captured the monster for a limited amount of time. Now, any hunter can throw down the dome and the dome won't miss. It automatically drops on the monster.
Wow.
Weird.
Yeah, and it does so for a long period of time.
Hang on, JV's going into labor here. What is that?
No. I
mean?
just remember like that was a big deal in that game, having the Trapper position.
Yep.
So to just like completely nullify that, because that's what that's going to do.
Well, they still have like the tethers and stuff like that.
But
I'd
still,
imagine.
like,
and they also now have something. They have a dash thing that gets them closer to the monster. So the monster's still going to be faster than the hunters, but the Trapper can zip closer. And the only way you can drop that dome is if you're close to the monster.
This is so nuts to me. Like they were working on this game for so long under THQ, and it's been going on forever and ever, and it sold decently well. It's just amazing that the Turtle Rock developers or 2K, I don't know who's pushing it harder, is like, we're not going to let it die. We're sticking with this thing even longer. Can you imagine after all those years shipping that game, then being like, well, for the next 2 years, let's keep working on it and completely retrofit this thing.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And it's completely overhauled. So, so the dome thing, the way it works now is every hunter can dome, and there's a meter on every screen, including the monster screen, that shows whether the dome is recharging or if it's depleting. And it goes up for 5 minutes, I think they said. And the way you knock time off it is if you knock down a hunter, some time gets knocked off. If the monster takes damage, time gets knocked off. If you incapacitate a hunter when you're in the dome, a huge amount of time gets knocked off. So the chances of it actually being a full 5 minutes that you're in the dome is pretty low. But they wanted to make sure that that the hunters couldn't eviscerate the monster in one dome.
So Futter, are you optimistic about this? What do you think about the strategy?
I think it's interesting. I want to try it. I think there's some really cool things that they're doing. I think that free to play makes a lot of sense for this game at this point. I really like the fact that they're kind of making everything, including the cosmetics, accessible through earned currency. What we don't know right now is we don't know the pacing of that earned currency. So it's all well and good to say, well, you can earn all of this stuff just by playing, but we know from, let's say, Rainbow Six Siege, if you want to unlock a DLC operator, it's going to take you like 20 hours to unlock a single one of the DLC.
Yeah, those are frustrating.
Right. So, I mean, yeah, you can unlock everything, but we don't until we understand what that pacing is, until we get a chance to play it for ourselves. I'm optimistic. I want to go back and play it. Evolve is a game I always wished I had more time and more people to play with. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited that this is going to give the community a shot in the arm. They're going to be updating it. They're going to be doing rapid patching. I mean, it's technically going into alpha today, and then a beta in August, and then they're going to release it for real, whatever that means for a free-to-play game these days.
Right. I mean, realistically, it'll bring in a new audience. I mean, I don't think it's going to become the next CSGO or anything, but it's going to do well. They're going to make more money off it than they would have just staying that same strategy. So why do you think more publishers don't do this? Why is it so rare?
That's a really good question. I think that in the case of this game, there's an opportunity here that there might not be with every game. I mean, we saw it happen with Team Fortress, for instance.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I actually asked them about Steam Workshop and the marketplace and all that stuff. It's something they are considering for the future. So they are thinking about doing item trading. They are thinking about doing user-created content. So that might be a way that they monetize this game and engage the community in ways they couldn't do in the past.
Let's gamble on some skins. This seems flawless.
Now, let's not gamble on some skins.
Maybe we'll get into that later.
By the way, visit my new site, Evolve Lotto, that I just found.
Oh, you just found it. Oh, that's cool.
And let's not do that. But I think that's a really good way to engage the community. We've seen it with Dota. We've seen it with Team Fortress 2. That could actually really give this game some longevity. And Take-Two has always been very, very adamant that Evolve is part of their long-term strategy. Whether that means this game just continues to grow as a free-to-play game or we eventually get a sequel, I think given what's happened to the brand, it would be very unlikely at this point that we see a full-priced retail sequel.
Yeah.
But this could actually change the way this franchise is perceived. I think they have a big hill to climb, given how much irrational hate there is for this franchise. I mean, even when we tweeted about the countdown, when Kyle wrote that story on Tuesday night, if you look at the Twitter response, it's like, oh, the servers are going to go offline. Ha ha ha! It's about time. It's like, all right, how many of you actually played this game?
Yeah, that's the thing. In that ideal scenario, we talked about it a lot on this podcast. Like, that game is super fun, but you need to have 5 people with mics ready to go, and this might open that door.
I think, you guys, the sort of idea of giving everyone access to that net, mechanically, I think that's good, because what that does is that empowers the team. Because when I played, I had the most fun playing as the monster, because you could be successful on your own. So I think by giving the net to everybody, you empower the team, the humans, and it makes them stronger, and maybe you can play by yourself more because everyone will have the access to that net. So everyone
but just to be clear,
has,
it's one dome.
A dome.
So it's one per team. So it's not like I throw mine, it comes down, then you throw yours, and it comes down. So it's like one. Anybody can throw it, but there's one. It's one for the team, and it's on the same.
So it's shared.
It is shared.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. See, I think that certainly has the. I mean, we'd have to play it to kind of see how it plays out, but like I think that has the potential to make the human players have more fun.
Yeah.
Like because they all will be. It'll be easier to contribute. Maybe even with less communication.
Why just a PC, Mike? Did you get a sense for that?
I actually asked them about this, and because they don't have to go through cert every time they want to patch, they're going to start with alpha beta on PC. There's no guarantee that it's coming to Xbox One and PS4, but they're not ruling it out. Depends on how it goes on PC and when they get to the point where, they're kind of patching at a more normal post-release cadence, as opposed to what you expect to see in alpha and beta.
God, I really want to know if this is going to become a strategy moving forward. Like, I feel like Ubisoft with Rainbow Six Siege with that starter pack is inching towards this.
Yeah,
is that fair to
that
say?
starter pack was also, and this is a weird thing about that, it was a time-limited thing. That's like the Call of Duty starter pack that they had where you could just play the multiplayer.
Yeah.
And those things being time-limited, I'm guessing because they're testing the waters. But I think you're right. I think we're going to start seeing more of that, like these new business models, these new packaging options as games kind of get past their launch window and into catalog status.
But do you think gamers are going to revolt against that? Just be like, well, I'm not paying $60 for your Battleborn, for example, which I think is another leading candidate here, and just be like, I know it's going to go free to play. There's no way that it won't within 2 years.
Well, it depends on how well publishers reward those people who buy in at the beginning. So if you pay $60 for a game at launch, you already know that you're paying more than somebody who's going to pay in 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, 2 months. The prices on games are going down a lot faster because the competition in the marketplace with new titles is already that much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So you already know if you're paying at launch, you're paying more than somebody not that far down the road. The question is, when a game goes free to play, and this is something I talked about with Turtle Rock. Now, mind you, this is also a new team. So Brandon Yanez, who is the new lead designer on the game, he did art on the original game and then kind of segued into being one of the more competitive players in the office, and then took over. They actually their new community manager, who was on their balancing team, was picked from the Evolve community. So they hired a couple of those guys who were diehard Evolve players.
Cool.
So what's really interesting is they talked a lot about rewarding people who played the game. So they're going to be dumping currency on people. They're going to be giving them exclusive rewards. They really want to make those people who were there with the game for the first 18 months or so feel really rewarded by playing.
Do you feel like this could still... you talked about the hate on Twitter. Is this going to be another reason for people to jump on and rag against Turtle Rock and Evolve?
It would be kind of hypocritical for people to do that, and that's not to say they won't because of the internet. But
oh yeah,
there were a lot of people who said that when this game came out that it should have been free to play, and I'll play it when it's free to play. You make this game free to play, and you got me. So this is a responsive move. The letter that the studio heads Chris Ashton and Phil Robb wrote was one of the better pieces of I guess PR communication that I've read. I thought it was very direct. I thought it was contrite in the right ways, but also hopeful at the same time. It acknowledged some of the game's faults.
Huh. What a weird situation. I think of like the great conversions of the past, and one that I always forget about is, do you remember THQ? They were making a Warhammer 40k MMO. Vigil was co-developing it. We went on the Darksiders 2 cover story trip. I remember
it was Dark Crusade?
Dark Millennium.
Dark Millennium.
Yeah, and they announced they were converting that entire MMO that was in development into a single-player RPG.
I remember that.
And I don't think they ever finished it.
No, something happened to THQ. Can't remember what.
Oh, that's right. But it's reminiscent of that. It was like, let's just reboot this game. And why not get experimental? Like Futter said, like you can still play, apparently, that original Evolve if you really want to play that version. So if development teams still want to stick with their babies, let's just keep nuking these things and rebuilding from the ground up over and over again.
And the thing we don't know is how much money does something like this cost? What's the risk reward here? And we know that there are monetization experts at every major publisher these days. We know that free to play has become refined. It used to be a bad word in the industry. People used to, and it still is a little bit on mobile, but more on PC. People are a lot more forgiving of free to play these days, provided it's ethical and provided there's no pay to win. And I think that, given that Evolve has a progression system already, this just adds that accelerating thing. I mean, they could have turned around and said, a month, 2 months, 3 months into release, they could have turned around and said, all right, here's what we're going to do. You can progress in the game by giving us microtransactions. And we've seen that before. There are people who, that's present in games, a lot of games. This at least says, now you can try the game for free. You can play the game and progress in the game for free. You can get cosmetics. So if there was a skin that you really wanted that, at launch that you never wanted to buy because you don't believe in buying cosmetics, then you can get that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this answers a lot of questions. The question is now, the game launched in February 2015. It's July 2016. Are people going to give it a shot? I hope they do. I'm really interested to see how this works. I think this is a really cool experiment. I love seeing developers and publishers experiment with new business models and really think outside the framework of what we know about how games are shipped. And we've seen a lot of this in the past couple of years, but nothing exactly like this. The closest analog I can think is Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, that's a good one. I wish we would have thought of that. But that's probably enough about a game from last year, February. Kyle, quickly, let's talk about a very similar game. BoxBox Boy on 3DS.
Yeah, it's a lot like Evolve. It's like there's monsters and stuff.
That's
what Evolve's about, right?
If you remember Box Boy, it was, is it HAL Laboratories?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kirby guys.
Okay, the Kirby guys, the Kirby men themselves, Kirby Puckett. They made this bizarre game where you basically play as a Tetris shape trying to get through an environment.
Yeah, you are a box person and you create boxes from yourself. It felt like an indie game from HAL in a weird way.
Yeah,
like indie has is like an aesthetic more than anything else, as opposed to like the actual definition of like an independent developer. And it was cool. It had really clever puzzles. It had a nice aesthetic, and it had a weird ending, which was a very indie thing to do. I felt like.
Hang on, please tell us. I think it's okay to spoil the ending to Box Boy, right?
Yeah.
Tune out. I'm sorry if you don't know it. But
yeah. You find Box. I'm trying to remember. You find Box Girl, and the thing that I remember being weird about. I don't remember the moment to moment. Like, here is what happened.
Go on.
It's like you like elevated into the sun, and all this like weird stuff happened. It's a black and white game, and all this like color came in at the last moment.
Oh, like falling in love.
That's right. That's what the game's all about.
No, it was his BoxBox bar mitzvah.
Oh,
so now he's BoxBox man.
I totally misunderstood it. What was I thinking? Oh, geez. But
he's one of the chosen people.
So this game, it's more of that.
Yeah,
more sun floating,
for better or worse. Like it feels like I could barely distinguish between the two games. Like the big thing now is like every puzzle you'd walk in and be like, okay, you can create 3 boxes or 2 boxes or 4 boxes to make your way through this level. And now the big difference is like you can create 2 sets of 3 boxes or 2 sets of 4 boxes, which does, to be fair, like change the puzzles pretty dramatically. You do have to solve them in all new ways, but in terms of like how the game is structured and how it looks and how it plays, like it feels not. It almost doesn't feel like a full sequel.
It's just Box Boy Stage 2.
It's BoxBox Boy.
Is it free to play?
No, it's not free to play.
There's been a crazy fan base for this game, though. I don't know if it's just people want new experiences out of Nintendo, and so people have really been championing this little eShop 3DS game.
It's also just like a really solid puzzle game with good puzzles. Like it's just really that has that Nintendo polish on it, which is really nice, and it has a nice charm to it. Like Box Boy is cute, and like you can unlock these little comics where they kind of poke fun at even like the mechanics and do like a little fourth wall breaking and stuff like that. So.
Right.
It's cool. It's a good puzzle game, but it's not like it's not one that I would be like, you need to get a 3DS and play this game. Like it's very cool. I enjoy it, but it's not blowing me away or anything.
I wonder if it's going to take like the same trajectory as Pushmo. Remember that game came out and I liked it, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, what a cool new experience!" And then they just kept releasing more and more of them, and I feel like people just quietly tapered off. And I wonder if Box Boy is just going to follow that trajectory.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has the potential to. Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised to see. I was kind of surprised that it got like part of Nintendo's like stage time, so to speak. You know, like they gave it a lot of time on the Treehouse Live at E3.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know. That I wonder if it sold really well, and maybe it is like this huge hit for Nintendo. I don't know.
Maybe compared to the development cost, could be.
Could be. Yeah. I mean, I do like the idea of like a developer like HAL just kind of going off and doing its own little game.
Yeah, it's like Game Freak and their little experimental things.
Yes, which I enjoy. Like
Tembo,
I like
the
Badass
Badass
Elephant. They also had that rhythm game, which I can't remember the name, but I really like that game a lot.
God. Yeah.
Do you remember it? It's like rhythm Harmonite.
Yes.
Harmonite was very
good
cool.
pull.
Yeah.
Harmonite.
So I like that Nintendo is kind of giving their studios like the opportunity to do this. Like, yeah, just make a little eShop game. We'll see how it goes. You know.
Yeah.
So
hey, something else that people can play this week. I think it's connected to the PS Plus. Mike, help me out if you know more about this. But
Yes,
this
sir.
game that I don't think we've ever touched on the podcast, but Epic's Paragon, Epic's third-person
Yes,
MOBA.
You can get the starter pack for free via PS Plus right now.
Okay. Now, JV and Kyle, you've played it. Kyle or Mike, have you
I've played
it
it
as well?
too.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Is this good? Should people be excited about Epic's next game here?
It's
you like
certainly
MOBAs?
playable.
it's certainly playable.
If it's
says
playable,
Javy
I'll
Gwaltney.
play it.
I
Javy,
played it for the
come
first
on.
time last night. Like I really kind of dug into it. I'm not a MOBA guy at all, and like my first match, which by the way you can't play with other people until you hit a certain level.
Right.
Like you
Level
play
5, I think it is.
Yeah,
It's
right?
level 5.
You play against
Huh.
AI like the first couple rounds, and like I had no idea what the hell was going on. Like I was like, this must be what it's like when I try to like give my parents a video game controller, and they're like,
Really?
there are too many buttons on here. I can't get it. Like it was like flashing all these things to me. I was like, by the way, cards are really important. Don't forget cards. And like I couldn't even figure out how to like equip cards.
It's tutorial. It's one of those
Yeah.
tutorials that's just not well done, that like overloads you with information and throws notifications at you without like taking you through anything.
Have,
It's
they,
not
have
great.
they fixed the display on PS4? Because I played my first couple matches on PC and then I played some on PS4. I'm like, man, I really thought I had more cards when I got into PS4, and then I realized, oh, they're not all showing on the screen. Like,
You do have to scroll through them. Yeah.
yeah, you don't on PC.
Okay.
It's like, and it really confused me.
This, I mean, is it just a cash grab to be like,
Well,
hey,
no.
make a MOBA, put some cards in it, let's
no,
go?
I will say though, like that being said, that was my first match, which I like was playing against AI. I ended up just backing out because I didn't like the character I was playing as. But then I watched. They had a 5-minute YouTube video that you can watch from the menu that explained it, like just gave you a walkthrough of like the basics. And then I found a character that I liked, Sparrow, who shot faster and had more powerful, just like her base attack was more powerful. And I played through 2 rounds and I had more fun. And I
All
did
right.
start to get the hang of it, and I did start to I liked her abilities was like to rain down arrows and stuff like that, which was good against all like the minions and that
Justice
kind of
reigns from above.
thing.
Yeah,
Right.
you guys just want to go play Overwatch?
That's
Yeah.
that's
We all
that's
just wanna
kind of
go
what
play
I wanted to do. But after my 3rd round, like where I was playing that, like you play against AI, then you can play co-op with people against AI, and
Okay.
then you unlock the ability to play human versus human. I did not play human versus human, but I finally felt like I got a grasp on it doing co-op versus AI, and I had a decent time. Like
you
I
gave
started
it your
getting
all,
the hang of
man. I just
I really-
threw on a whim yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Kyle, if you want to check out Paragon, by the way, we'll probably talk about it. I didn't know you
I went through it.
sat down with a bowl of popcorn and
That's
notes.
right. Now that I've played it and talked about it for this podcast, I will be going back to Overwatch.
Yeah, I played
We'll
it.
probably not be playing it a lot more.
when it was in alpha, and I actually, it was fine. I had a good bit of fun with it. And then I played the most recent version with all the updated characters and whatnot. And the whole time I was thinking, man, I wish I was playing Overwatch. Like that's
they are
what
they are
yeah.
different.
They
Like,
are very
They are,
different,
yeah.
but they still have sort of the same idea of like working together with a
Yes.
team to accomplish
Yeah.
an objective.
To be fair
They
to
still
Paragon,
have heroes and whatnot.
to
like,
Paragon.
I could be making love and thinking I'd rather be playing Overwatch right now. It's just like just because this one really good
Well,
game.
we know
came
a
out.
lot about
Well, that's
Hanson's
put on your
love life right
tombstone.
now.
I was playing, through Inside. I did not want to play Overwatch.
Okay, so it can break through the Overwatch
That's
threshold. Well, there we go.
Is that going to be like our scale from now on? Does it? When
Does
we
it
are
pull me
playing
away
this
from
game, do we
Overwatch?
want to secretly play Overwatch?
I think so. I think that was Andy's criteria for Sea of Thieves.
That's
Like,
right.
It works out for a lot of things on this podcast, it turns out. But is Paragon going to be better than Fortnite, Kyle? Tell me right now, and tell me why Epic isn't just
Well,
releasing Fortnite instead.
Does Fortnite exist?
It
No,
does.
it's on the
This isn't
burner.
the bombcast. Fortnite totally exists.
Okay.
I've played it for days.
I think Paragon. I don't really like the art style. I don't. I
it looks
imagine
pretty.
it seems like a mechanically sound game that I think will find an audience. But I think like Fortnite, if you want to like pit it against Fortnite, I think Fortnite looks more interesting, is different. Like Paragon doesn't feel dramatically different than other MOBAs. So I think Fortnite has the upper hand in that way. Like it might be able to branch out and get more people other than just this core MOBA audience.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, talking back to Evolve, is Paragon going to be free to play, or what are they doing with that? Do you know, Mike?
Yeah, it's free to play.
It is free
You
to
can
play.
buy
Okay.
founders packs. I mean, it's using that whole model. You can buy it at retail and you get some in-game stuff. You can buy founders packs, or you could buy founders packs online. Maybe you can't anymore, but now there's a starter pack you can buy, or you can just play the dang thing.
Huh. All right.
Just play it. Just play the damn thing.
Just play the dang thing.
Hey, Javy, you want to shake stuff up?
Sure.
Let's talk about a game that we've talked about briefly in this podcast before, but real quickly, Zero Time Dilemma.
Oh yeah.
People are really into this.
Mike, I'm not going to talk
Mike,
spoilers.
fingers
It's
up
fine.
ears.
All right, Mike.
It's okay.
Zero spoilers. This thing's on 3DS?
Yeah, 3DS, Vita, and PC. For the first time, the
that's
series is
right.
on PC.
Okay, we
And
covered
they
a little
recently
bit.
announced that they're bringing the other two games to PC too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Which, if you have not played them, make that a point.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to
$9.99.
for
They
sure.
are so good.
Yeah,
They're
I feel-
so good.
I feel so bad for Mike because the game's out right now, but he got one of the collector's editions, and there's been a whole snafu with the publisher and Amazon, so he still doesn't have the game. He's
So
Been having
but
bad
here's the
luck.
been
thing.
listening to
so
me
I ordered,
rant about how
I
good it is.
pre-ordered a 3DS version and a Vita version. I'm like, I don't know which I want to play. I played 999 on 3DS, but then Virtue's Last Reward, which was the second game, had a major game-breaking save bug like on 3DS, so I played that one on Vita. I'm like, I don't know. So I held on to both pre-orders, and then I randomly said one day, it's like, does anybody have interest in one of these? And Kim's like, yes, me.
Perfect.
So Kim and I are sitting here waiting for our games because they were supposed to come with the cool watches. And now the watches are delayed, and Amazon is like,
Didn't you? I mean, a lot of people had this issue kind of with Oculus. Like pre-ordering Oculus. Like, were you one of those people?
yeah.
So like if you pre-order something, that's like a sign for me to be like, oh, I should just wait till this comes out.
Mike,
and
you
buy
should
it
pass
when it
around a
comes
list of all the things you've pre-ordered
Yeah.
or plan to pre-order in 2016, so we know.
So here's the funny thing. There is a joke, a long-running joke among my friends that I just should never order anything ever because this stuff just happens to me.
Well, I heard you on customer support call at E3 for like 45 minutes, so I have a taste of what your life is like. I feel like you subjected all of us to that there, Mike.
I tried to be quiet.
Tried so hard, failed so hard. But please, Zero Time Dilemma.
Yeah. Okay, let's actually.
This is the finale for the trilogy, right? Is that the way
right.
they're pitching
And
it?
it's for people who haven't played it, it's basically the Saw franchise meets a Choose Your Own Adventure book series meets the weirdness of Metal Gear Solid, and then bumps that weirdness up to 10. Like if you think like nanomachines are weird or whatever, no. Play Zero Escape, then you will know what weird is.
Supernatural?
It's a little bit.
Okay, is this the best of the series?
Yeah, this is the best one. I would say it's the best one.
Closes out everything perfectly. Your characters die for good this time. It's a wrap.
you stay
Not
dead.
going there.
Okay, but I mean, it's an option, right? It's like saying, "Oh, a character can die in Walking Dead." It's all up in the air, right?
It's very interesting because Zero Time Dilemma, you have to play it out of order. It's like Memento the game in a sense.
Okay.
Like there's a fragment system and you're presented with it and you're playing one of three teams. Like you play all of them, but you can only play one of them at a time. And so you'll select a fragment and you could start with like the ending of the game and like have no context for what's going on. And then you'll jump to another fragment after you complete it and get some context. And like it shouldn't work, but it does because like you'll play a later scene that happens chronologically. And then next you'll play one that happens earlier in the game that ties into whatever happens to that scene, and it colors that scene. It provides context for it
Okay.
in a super interesting way. So like a confession of love might turn
How
out
does
to
that
be
go?
something awful. Like you might know where that confession eventually leads to because you've seen where it leads to, and it's just heartbreaking. So that might be something that happens.
Might be something that happens.
in that
Okay.
game. Yeah.
But so you recommend this to people, but first need to play those first two. So maybe wait until they're all out on PC?
It depends. Reiner and I argue a lot about how games should be played. Like, for example, I played Mass Effect 2 first and completely enjoyed it and was fine.
I'm that guy too.
Yeah.
Nuts.
And I feel like this
good.
is sort of the case with a Zero Time Dilemma. Like, you have a lot of people who are saying, no, you have to play the other two first to understand what's going on. You are not going to understand what the hell is going on in this game, no matter what you do. It's just a matter of degrees. Okay.
But I would never wish anybody to have to go back to play 999 for the first time after experiencing, and maybe they'll fix this in the re-release, and I hope they do, after experiencing Virtue's Last Reward's skipping system.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Because
don't
you
tell
have
them it
to
exists. If
replay-
they're going back, Mike, don't tell them there's a better version out there.
You have to play through multiple times to get them to finally get the real ending
Right.
and really understand the story. But that means you're going to be retreading a lot of the same ground. Now in 999, essentially what happened was you could just hold the button and fast forward all the text, which was not great. In Virtue's Last Reward, you can bring up the timeline menu and you can actually like pick which node to skip to. So you can just jump over all of that stuff.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they are going to have that update in the PC version of 999. Because they had something like that for the iOS version, didn't they?
The iOS version has no puzzles, though.
That's true, but like if they can put it in the iOS version, then they'll probably put it in the PC version.
You can milk anything with nipples.
Good stuff. So you gave it an 8.75.
Yeah, I gave it 8.75. I really liked
Awesome.
it.
And also, real quick, you posted like a
little
catch-up primer, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
like
great.
you could just read that and conceivably just skip to this one, right?
Because
Sure,
Javy can really
sure.
paint a picture.
That is a thing you can do.
Did you write something and then you were not willing to get behind it as a recommended way to experience this?
Wait, what?
You seem like you're backing away from that being a good idea. Of
No, I
the
think
primer.
it is. I think if you read the primer, it will tell you what you need to know, and then it'll help you. Like, if you want to go back and play the older games, like the easiest way to do that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, hey, from primer to Slimer, ladies and gentlemen,
Oh my
let's
God.
talk about Mike Futter's crazy experience of the Ghostbusters world. I do want to talk about this, Mike Futter, because
was fun.
you talked to Ivan Reitman, the director of
I did.
Ghostbusters and a million other movies. What was that like?
Was he nice?
It was, you get to a point in this job where it's like you don't get the starry-eyed, you don't do the slight fanboy thing, but inside I was like, oh my God, Ivan Reitman. And I didn't know he was going to be there in advance.
Oh,
So
wow.
I sent out the call like really quickly to everybody. I'm like, guys, Ivan Reitman's here. I'm going to have a chance to talk to him. Questions?
Wait, who'd you call?
I put in. Oh God.
So what did Ivan say?
Hanson.
Well, I mean, actually, I asked him both of your questions.
Oh, thank you.
And you said you didn't care whether or not he didn't. I asked him what his favorite games are, and I don't care if it's chess. Well, good news, chess was on the list.
Yes. That's fine. I love hearing people's favorite games, period.
Yes. So cards, poker, and gin were up there. He loves to gamble. But we landed on talking about pinball. And
Okay.
that was a lot of fun. And he talked about the pinball games that he loves and why he likes pinball. And it was a really cool conversation. And we also got to talking about the 2009 Ghostbusters game. I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. I love that game. I still go back and play that game every once in a while.
What? Who are you? Mike, you're so weird. Like,
Why?
on Steam, I see it pop up so many times. You'll be like, start playing Black Flag on a Saturday at 3. It's just like,
Okay,
it's
there's
unpredictable.
so the reason why we were playing Black Flag is we were playing the multiplayer.
Oh, well, that explains
All right,
it.
you know,
All
yeah,
right.
it totally makes sense.
Yeah,
game
everyone
had
goes back
multiplayer?
to
You jump around to so many bizarre choices from the last like 7 years. You go back frequently and play the Ghostbusters 2009 game.
Yeah, I love that game.
It's got Bill
Like
Murray
the
in it.
idea of like catching ghosts and like slamming them into the traps. I love that.
To be fair, I need to play it. I played a little bit of the Wii
Oh, you never
version.
played it?
It
No,
was
I know.
Oh, the
$2.
best
Well, the
version.
Wii version was terrible. $2.50 on the Steam sale. How could I not?
Yeah, but still.
It is worth playing.
Yeah.
As a fan of Ghostbusters, because it's got all the full cast, it's got all their dialogue. Like even if the gameplay is all right, it gets the job done. But
Do
it's
they
like
bring up Onion Head?
no, I don't think they do. It's been a while.
That's an old inside joke.
That's
But
right.
what did Ivan Reitman say about the 2009 game?
He was really glad that it continued the story, but he was not. He thought the game needed to be more lively.
Lively.
Did you ask him why Winston Zeddemore suddenly has a PhD out of nowhere?
We didn't get. Into
You didn't get to that?
They talk about Space Jam pinball for 45 minutes.
We did talk quite a bit about Space Jam.
And you tried the crazy Ghostbusters VR thing.
It was
like
neat.
so the whole pitch is that it's like amusement park style VR where they recreate the environment so you can reach out and touch the things that you're actually seeing. Is that? Do you see this as a viable future to change your outlook on amusement park VR?
I've always had a feeling that amusement park VR was going to be a thing. I would have guessed Dave and Buster's before I would have guessed Madame Tussauds, though.
Okay.
I thought that was, it's really cool. Like because you go in with a team of 3, and it's an experience. There's a game element to it, but it's very guided. So you go from room to room, and the doors open, and you walk through the doors. You go into an elevator, and the thing rumbles, and then Slimer comes and he slimes you, and you get sprayed with water. So it feels like you get slimed as he's kind of.
So that's what feels like just a light mist on your face. That's what it feels like to have
pretty much.
Slimer go through you. Okay.
Pretty much. And then you're wearing a vest that has haptics, and because there's motion sensors or motion capture kind of nodes all over the gun and all over, and kind of in the vest, it's directional. So if you're turned this way and you get hit from this side, you're gonna feel it over here, and vice versa. But it's really neat. I would have loved to have seen some more gamey elements to it. Obviously, you're not gonna have a HUD or anything like that in VR. But the fact
you
that
say
you could reach out
obviously.
and touch a wall
Am I nuts?
was super cool.
Why wouldn't you have a HUD in VR?
Well, I mean, because it's not designed as a game; it's designed as an experience.
So it feels more like a Sleep No More, like interactive theater, bizarre experience.
Yeah, it really does feel like interactive theater. Now, there are going to be other bigger games that they do where, like, this was very linear. This was, so you walked through a door, or the wall got blown out and you walked through the wall, or you stepped into the elevator, but you didn't really have a choice. They're going to be doing other experiences where you can go from room to room, you can split up with your party, you can rejoin them. You ultimately reach the same end, but you're going to have different things along the way. Now, the coolest thing about this, there were 2 moments. The first was in the first room where there's a chair sitting in the room, and a guy who was with me in my group sat down on the chair. So, and you could actually see him sit down. And that was neat.
The future of gaming, everybody sit down on an MF and chair.
In VR while you're standing.
Did you get were you able to, like, throw a trap or anything like that?
I think it automatically threw the trap.
What? That's the entire Ghostbusters through.
I know, sliding the trap out there.
So, no, that you didn't get to do. And they have a proprietary gun that's designed for multiple games. So, of course, it looked like a proton thrower. But it had, like, an alternate fire. It had a reload thing. It had a shotgun. You could cock it like a shotgun.
But you could.
Those things didn't do anything.
You were, like, lassoing ghosts, right? Like in that. Did you do any of that where you were kind of, like, pulling them down? You did do that.
Like you had to, like,
that's cool.
trap ghosts and, like, kind of get it to the trap and all that stuff. So you did do that.
Can you cross the streams?
You can cross the streams.
That's pretty cool. And it's totally safe every time.
You have to at the end. Can I spoil the end of it? Like,
yeah, I don't really know what this is, so yes.
Yeah,
well, the other thing.
So at the very end, like, you go out into this roof, and it's very cool because they start having wind blow on you, so you feel like you're outside, and the way the floor is designed, it feels very rickety. And then you have to kill these, like, animated gargoyles, and you shoot them with the proton thrower, and they explode into piles of rock. And then at the end, you capture this big bad ghost. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man shows up. He rips the top off the building, and you have to shoot him. And then, in order to beat him, of course, you have to cross the streams. And then he explodes, and then the whole room is filled with the smell of burnt marshmallows, which was neat.
That's kind of cool.
That's neat.
That seems all right.
Smell-o-vision.
If people want to do this, are they leaving this up in New York City, or how do people find it?
Yeah, it opened on the 1st at Madame Tussauds in Times Square. There is, in addition to that, there's also wax sculptures of the 4 new Ghostbusters. There's sets from the new movie.
So people can go there and egg those women? Is that right?
If the internet would have its way, yes.
Okay, great. Well, what a fun little journey.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, hey, Mike, before we go,
yes,
I want to talk to you about a game that I'm interested in that you've been playing a lot of.
Yes.
Apparently, reviews up. Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight, like a playable horror movie. We talked about Evolve earlier.
Yeah.
In the podcast, but this is also an asymmetrical game where one person can play the big bad guy. It scales for, I think it's 2 to 4. I think you can probably maybe do 1 to 4. I think you need a minimum of 2 victims though.
Okay.
And the game loop works like this. There are 3 different killers. You can pick which one they are. They all have different abilities. Survivors, they're all generic, but you have random, like there's random progression. There's these procedurally generated blood webs, and you fill one of those up and you gain a level, and then another one pops up and you get access to different, likely better skills.
Procedurally generated blood webs, everybody.
Yeah, that's the progression method, like the skill tree.
And this is just on Steam at this point, right?
Just on Steam at this point. It's $20.
This feels exactly like the Friday the 13th game that team is making.
There have been a lot of comparisons to that game. But what happens is there are different maps, but every game plays out the same way. The victims have to find these generators and repair these generators, which takes time. And there are these skill checks that pop up. They're QTEs, and you have to stop. You have to hit the space bar while it's in the zone, or else it makes it backfires. You lose some progress, and then the sound lets the killer know where you are.
Okay. Is it tense? Does it work? Is it fun?
Oh, it works. It's really tense. I yelp a lot while I'm playing this game. Like, you never know.
You can
when
eat later. Focus on the game.
Was that a joke about checking restaurant reviews on Yelp?
That was a joke about checking restaurant reviews.
Wow.
Really swinging
Wow.
for it, but it's
That'll laugh
you get into it, right, Futter?
I get into it. Wasn't that was not the joke, but we'll go with it.
No, it was the
No,
joke.
I actually make noise while I'm playing this game. I jump, there are jump scares. So what happens is the survivors are all in third person, which gives them a little bit of an advantage. The killer is in first person, and so they can kind of rotate the camera around, but you need to really stay focused when you're repairing a generator, because these skill checks, there's a sound cue, but it doesn't give you a lot of time, so you have to pay attention. When the killer's looking at you and he's real close, like there's this red light, so you can kind of see where he's looking if he's real close to you. And if you see that behind you, you need to take off. Now, the really cool thing is that yes, you're powerless as a victim, but you can knock down debris, and if he happens to be like real close, you can stun the killer. But if you run too much, it leaves all these red scratch marks so you can see where you're going. So you have to be really methodical in your movement. You have to walk. You have to crouch. And if you're injured, and if you get hit, you whimper so he can figure out where you are. So you need to make sure that you and your team are healing each other. Now, there's a couple of things that are drawbacks in the game. One is that you cannot communicate with your team in a ranked match. There's a pre-match chat where you can strategize, but once you're in the game, even if you're close, you can't talk to people. So you kind of just have to adapt quickly and try to figure out what you're going to do. Is it better to stay apart? Is it better to repair together? Which gives you more chance of somebody getting a skill check and then screwing it up. You can take all of your progression, so any skills that you've earned and slotted into one of your survivors or your killer, any consumable items, which can change the game a little bit. They can make it brighter, like make the moon brighter, which is actually really challenging for the survivors.
There's a consumable item to make the moon brighter?
Yeah, there's consumable items that will like direct you toward one map or the other. There are consumable items that'll give you bonus points in different categories. So the killer's got categories like hunting and deviousness, and like survivors have like categories like being bold, like staying close to the killer. You hear the heartbeat as he gets within range, and it gets louder. And then the music is really like horror movie tense, and while you're running away. And
this sounds really good. Is it as good as it seems?
I keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
I really love playing it, and there is a casual match thing where you can join up with friends. The problem is that right now the way it works is the killer starts the match and then invites his friends to be the survivors, and that you can't switch roles within that. So if you want to play round robin and have everybody take a turn being the killer, you got to leave, and then you've got to come back and have that, the killer needs to start a new lobby and then invite everybody in. I expect that they're going to fix that over time. This is a game that is probably going to get some more support, more killers, more skills, things like that. But right now, there are some things that do hold it back. That said, matching as a victim is pretty quick. Matching as a killer takes a little bit more time, and you do get to pick which role you want to play when you start a game.
Okay.
So you either start a lobby as a killer, or you join a lobby as a victim.
Well, here's the competition for Evolve then. This is what it has to compete with when it becomes free to play.
It is. And again, this is a $20 game. I really like it. Like, this is a game where I have played with friends, and I really, really enjoyed it.
Cool.
It
Yeah,
does
I gotta check
keep
it
me.
out.
It does sound really neat. I want to check it
captures
out.
the horror movie theme.
It's mouse and keyboard only. I tried to play it last night and was horrified as I tried to sit on my couch.
Wait, what?
I'm pretty sure, unless something was just weird. Are you playing with a controller?
I'm playing with mouse and keyboard, but I played it with a controller at PAX.
Really? Unless it was just not detecting my gamepad. It wasn't working last night, but
Let me check the store page real quick.
all right, please do.
I'm surprised that that there's not more first person versus third person like multiplayer games. Remember, like, was it Splinter Cell, Pandora Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think had that, and I feel like I haven't really seen much of that since then. Really,
It's in Blacklist too.
is it okay? So
Yeah.
there is some of it out there.
Yeah.
Partial controller support. You should.
Partial.
Partial, the best kind.
I need a breakdown of what that means on the store page. It's always
Yeah, I know,
confusing on
right?
Steam. It's frustrating. All right, well, that sounds cool. So check out Dead by Daylight if that seems like your alley. Seems like a real Tim Turry type of game.
It
Who?
very much seems like a Tim Turry type of game.
Oh,
I
that's
hope
what
he's
it is.
playing it because he would dig it.
Cool. Well, hey, before we move on to emails, I want to give a quick plug to the Game Club, which is kicking off next week. It's our GI Game Club, and we're doing Deus Ex Human Revolution, which is available on Steam, PS3, Xbox 360, backwards compatible on Xbox One. So we encourage you to play. I think I said Chapter 5 last week. It turns out that's really confusing, and it's not clearly displayed in the game where that is. So the chapter breakdown that I got that off of was not helpful. But what you should do is play until you leave Detroit. I won't even say where you go next in case that's a spoiler, but when you leave Detroit, which is between 3 and 6 hours into the game, that is going to be the breakoff point for the first discussion. So play that section of the game if you want to, or if you know this game from the past and have played it before and want to send feedback in on what you like about it, send it to podcast@GameInformer.com, and then next week, the second segment, we're going to talk all about it with some fine folks. But do you guys want to move on to emails?
Yeah, sounds good.
Do it.
Heck yeah. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We got a bunch of questions, a bunch of emails that people watching or listening, I'm not sure, they sent into podcast@GameInformer.com. We're going to read all these. We're going to respond to them with our most insightful possible responses. And then we're going to pick our favorite from the bunch and ship them out something real nice. It's going to be the laptop that Mike's on right now, and he will still be inside of it.
That's right.
All right,
Mike's
so
an AI.
podcast@GameInformer.com.
Your own little futter.
I'm rampant.
Please write in, everybody. It'd be fun. Even if you just listen and you would like to be passive with your podcast, just go out on a limb. Write in any feedback whatsoever. We'll
For this
read
one,
it.
you
We're
know, one
nuts.
time I wrote an email to Mark Maron's WTF podcast and he read it.
Did he really? Isn't that a
Yeah.
thrill? I've written into podcasts
that could happen
too.
to you for the Game Informer show.
I love it. All right, like Isaac here, criticizing Kyle, saying, one thing you guys didn't address on the last show, my wife played Pokemon back with Red and Blue when she was a kid, but she hasn't touched a Pokemon game since. She's not a gamer, but does play mobile games like Bejeweled, Candy Crush, etc. Would she like Pokemon Go? Kyle, you've still been playing a fair amount of that.
Yeah, probably. I think she would.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially if she played like Red and Blue, because like out of the gate they're going to start with like the original 150, so she will have some familiarity with it, you know. And
Yeah.
it's not as hardcore RPG as like Pokemon Sun and Moon, like the modern
Yeah.
Pokemon. It's more like have a good time catching Pokemon, and so I think she would. It's free. Give it a shot.
I
don't
think
know.
that game's going to take over the world. It seems to be gaining
Yeah.
momentum. It's out in New Zealand now. It's spreading around. All
Really
right.
top in the charts over there.
You know what's not a good time? Is listening to JV's nostrils exhale into these mics over
Sorry,
and over
can't help
and
it.
over again.
Can you just angle your nose?
Please no,
Oh.
please no.
Do it, Mike.
Tyler Oldfield from Raccoon City writes in, he says, I have a bone to pick regarding the whole Resident Evil 7 is a PT clone discussion. Can we please stop comparing everything to PT? First-person horror wasn't anything new when PT released. In fact, if anything, shouldn't these games be compared to something more like Amnesia? All I'm saying is let's take PT down from this pedestal and move on and let Resident Evil 7 do what the franchise has long been overdue for, returning to survival horror.
Nah.
Welcome to the family, boy.
I think that some of that is fair. Like we
Yes.
do hold PT on this pedestal, which is kind of absurd because it was just like this hour-long demo that was really interesting. But I think the comparison is apt for the Resident Evil 7 demo because you're exploring a house, like you're walking down hallways,
And it's a playable teaser of Resident Evil 7.
But I do think it's the same sort of argument of like stop comparing everything to Dark Souls, stop comparing everything to PT. I think that is absolutely fair.
And no discredit to Amnesia. Are you an Amnesia guy, JV?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
How
a
many-
Machine for Pigs more than the
We-
first one.
I don't think
We
anybody
know
else thinks
that in the first week and a half, 2 million downloads of Resident Evil 7. How many? I mean, we can go back and look, but PT had a ton of downloads as well. I don't know that it's necessarily as much as holding PT up as the first, but when we make comparisons like that, we do it because we know it's a common touchstone and it's
Mhm.
recent.
Right.
I don't think there's anybody who's saying that PT did it first or Dark Souls did it first. Hell, even From Software did it before Dark Souls with Kingsfield. So these are just common touchstones,
Yeah.
if anything.
Right.
So relax, Tyler. But we hear you.
No, I didn't say that. Tyler, I love you.
Tyler, get uptight. We love you, Tyler. Hey, everyone, love the show, says Jose P. He says, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. My name is Jose Pizarro. I just finished Firewatch today. I finished it in one long sitting. I really loved everything about the game. So almost immediately, I call up my good friend to chat about it. Here's the problem. He says, I beat that game the day it came out. It's so old. Click. Translation, you've missed the window of having an in-depth conversation about this game. So here's my question. Have you ever beat a great game, months too late, and because of that, no one wants to talk about it with you anymore?
Oh, yeah. Years too late. Perfect Dark. I recently went through that for like the first time last October, and then no
What?
one wanted to talk about it.
You
The
met
first
them?
Perfect Dark?
Yeah.
I was playing the first Perfect Dark around that same time. We could have talked about
But
it.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really
Yeah.
know you. We could have talked on Twitter or something.
Yeah.
It's in this office. You'd be hard pressed to not find somebody nearby who will talk to you about anything related to a video game. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, even if you go back and play, like I replayed Earthbound when it came out on the Wii U Virtual Console. Like, wasn't hard to find somebody to talk about Earthbound here in this office, which is a special circumstance.
You can
know?
corner him in a kitchen.
Yeah.
I always think of like Metal Gear Solid 5 as my example because it took me way too long to get through that game.
Mhm.
And so I missed out on recording the Spoiled, which I will always be kicking myself over because I wanted to dive in deep with that game. And then it's like, well, I could have a couple mop-up conversations with Joe Juba. All right, that'll do.
I get what you're saying. Like, I'm playing, it's not even that old, and I'm playing Quantum Break right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've missed the window of
I'll talk
everyone
to you about
talking
that game.
Yeah. So,
what-
I can find somebody.
What'd you think about Perfect Dark, JV?
Oh, I loved it. I
Did
think it's
you?
aged really well.
Did you play the 360 version?
I mean, that's the one that comes with the rare replay.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, yeah.
Maybe I was just too
Don't
drunk.
play Perfect Dark Zero then. You can.
Yeah.
No, I played Perfect Dark Zero for about 10 minutes and said, I'm good.
I want to play
Yeah.
Perfect Dark Zero. I've
Don't-
never even booted
don't.
it up.
Really?
So
Yeah.
here's the problem with Perfect Dark Zero.
Everything. Literally
Oh, this
everything,
whole
Mike.
conversation.
The level design only works when you're playing on the hardest difficulty. After that, it's
Mhm.
like I have no idea what's going on here. The
Well, that's
levels
that cool
are just
level
terrible.
Well, you're like dad's a sniper, and you're like on the ground below. That was a cool
Your
level.
dad's a sniper?
Yeah.
Isn't that the first level?
That's like the second or third.
That
Something like
sounds
that.
all right.
It's
But it
not-
just sucks that you don't have the alien weapons, the most fun thing. Like the campaign of Perfect Dark replaying
There's
it.
jetpacks.
Okay, that sounds all right. But that Chicago level was garbage, right? We talked about it on the replay not too long ago.
Which one is that one? The one where you're sneaking at the
It's in
beginning?
the street, yep.
Yep.
And like there's something that just gets triggered over and over again by the AI. I forget what it is exactly, but it was the most frustrating thing because you could not stop it. All right, but that's it for the Perfect Dark email. Thank you, Jose, for writing in. Jacob Thompson writes in and says, why doesn't Sony put more of their console exclusives on PC? Their software sales would skyrocket even if they lose out on some potential console sales. No Man's Sky is one example of a PS4 exclusive coming to PC, but I would like to see more. Why don't they do it?
This sounds like a Futter question.
I think the reason why I'm going to flip the script a little bit. I think the reason why Microsoft is so eager to do it is because Microsoft gets money from every Windows 10 install. Like they
Right.
have that market cornered. It's part of what Tim Sweeney at Epic has been talking about with the Universal Windows Platform movement. I think there is Microsoft benefits from PC gaming. Every time they sell a copy of Windows 10, that's great for them.
Yeah.
Sony doesn't necessarily have that same benefit, and I don't know that it would benefit them nearly as much.
But why not
So-
get $60 out of a PC crowd?
Well, I mean, you would have to. frankly, you'd have to ask them that question. And it's a great question that I'm going to keep in my hip pocket for next time I talk to somebody at Sony in an interview. But there's always the piracy concern, and I don't want to understate or overstate it. It's not that every PC gamer is a pirate, obviously. But Sony uses those exclusives to sell consoles. And Microsoft does to an extent, but with the Play Anywhere program, Microsoft is making a real push towards unifying its Windows platform as the primary way to play games. And it just so happens you can do that on a Surface tablet or a PC, an Xbox One. Sony doesn't necessarily have that same level of benefit. And it might not behoove them to have a studio like Naughty Dog, spend all of that money on bringing their games to PC. And as for No Man's Sky, I don't know if Hello Games is doing both of those things independently, PS4 and PC, or if they're getting help from another studio. But that's their game that Sony is publishing on PlayStation 4. Sony's not publishing it on PC.
Yeah, it's confusing. So it's not a first-party title. So that one's a little bit different.
What we call a second-party title.
Second-ish. It's a little bit like Helldivers.
I mean, it's not a full third-party, but Sony definitely has some skin in the game when it comes to No Man's Sky, or at least that's the way it seems.
But short answer, we're not sure. Brad from Pittsburgh writes in and says, "Hey, GI crew, I was wondering if you guys have a go-to unwind game. I have 2 current games I'll play just to unwind and mindlessly play. NHL 14 and Rocket League have racked up a lot of playtime for me. I play those 2 games when I can't fully engage in any other game. Do you guys have your go-to, your backup games?"
I mean, Wolfenstein, yes.
That's a good one.
What is your love affair with the Wolfenstein? What's going on here?
I've been curious about this as
I
well.
mean, it's a very good, well-designed shooter that tells an awesome story in a genre that usually doesn't do story competently.
This is Old Blood.
This is the New Order. The Old Blood's
New
fine.
Order's
Old Blood's
fantastic.
the DLC. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so New Order, you just play through it again and again and again.
Yeah, like I think I can beat it in like 6 hours now. So
How many times have you played through it?
Oh, I don't want to say that on here.
Yeah, this is not the place to talk about games.
I don't know, like 12 or 13 times
That's
now
too many.
since
What
it came
the hell's
out.
wrong with
Are
you?
you more sick of Wolfenstein or Spec Ops: The Line, which you taught in a school and also had to drain?
Spec Ops: The Line, because that's really draining. Like just one playthrough of that game is enough for a long time.
You just feel gross for a while.
yeah.
I
I
want to
think
get to
what was the reader's name?
This is Brian.
Brian. I'm surprised that he talked about multiplayer games, because multiplayer games do nothing but stress me out. Like that is the opposite of winding down for me. Like I like to play games like Wolfenstein Feud that I just know really well. Like just breezing through like Mega Man X is like relaxing for me now. Limbo has become one of those games for me now. Journey is another one that's like, but that's just like it's not necessarily that I know Journey particularly well. That's just a relaxing game by the way it works.
I'll always go back to, we talked about it a lot, but Amplitude on PS4. So like, I just want to play a game for a little while, or like on my phone, Bejeweled Blitz. I don't care about any of the power-ups. I don't even use them, but just like Bejeweled actions relax me.
Sure.
So I'll just sit back and play that. Mike, you got to go to?
Yeah, I've got a couple. This is going to surprise nobody. I'll
Assassin's
just pop
Creed
in and play
Black
a little bit
Flag.
of the Ghostbusters game.
Ghostbusters.
game.
It's just a cool feeling to
Alright.
like. All right,
Sure, I'll
Brink?
find out.
Is Brink another one of those?
All right, look. That was one time.
The Bureau? Trying to think of the other weird
The
games you were
Bureau?
super into.
Oh my gosh!
All
I
right,
forgot
look,
about that game.
That game's not bad either.
XCOM.
I swear to God, you were like writing down every time I load a game on Steam.
Absolutely. I'm your
This
biggest
is
fan,
really
Michael.
freaking weird.
Hanson takes notes on everything.
It's
I know
true.
he does. He's very observant.
Thank you. Hey, GI Crew writes in Liam from North Carolina. I was wondering what examples you could give of the worst things to happen to you on a cover story trip. Has a game studio you were visiting ever been in a scary part of town? Any horrible turbulence while flying? Any big arguments break out leading to animosity between editors? What's the worst story from a cover story trip?
Remember when we toured the Mormon church and the tour guide punched me in the shoulder really
We
hard?
were seeing Disney Infinity 3 in Salt Lake City, and the Church of Salt Lake City is awesome. I really loved
It's really
it.
nice.
And we
Beautiful.
got this amazing tour from
great.
lovely Mormons to this amazing old church.
Yeah. Just this like huge, just epic building. It was insane. Yeah.
A little bit of
And he
preaching.
gave you 2 for flinching.
So there was this old guy who was just lovable, like, ah, ha, 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 just laughing the entire time.
Yeah.
And Kyle doesn't like to be touched, is one thing I know about Kyle. And then he gave Kyle a good old punch to the stomach, like jokingly, and Kyle could not handle it. He got punched by a Mormon. It was crumbled.
Well, it wouldn't be so bad if he didn't like actually hit me. Like it was, and I thought it was the shoulder. Was it the stomach?
I don't remember.
But wherever it was that he hit me, like he really hit me. Like it was that joking, like, you crazy kids. And it was like, I was surprised. I was taken aback because I was like, you really punched me in the shoulder, like really hard.
Didn't you like roughhouse as a kid? It's fun to get punched a little bit as a guy, right?
When you go to tour a church, you don't expect to get punched in the shoulder.
There are things you expect to happen.
by a very lovely man.
I expect to get struck by lightning, for instance.
Oh, sure. I really couldn't think of anything until they said like in a bad part of town. It made me think of this story. I don't think we've ever told on replay or a podcast or anything, but on the Assassin's Creed 3 cover story trip, we're in Montreal, and we had a flight at like 4 a.m. or something confusing. So we're just staying up, and the bars are open in Montreal till 3 a.m. And so we're out drinking and whatnot. And then it was Matt Miller and Matt Burtz and myself, and we walked back to the hotel, and it was not in a great part of town. And so we're walking back to the hotel, and we're in the elevator going up to our rooms, and there was this guy who was British, and he felt like a rugby player. Basically, he looked like Brick from Borderlands 1. Just imagine that guy in an elevator with you, and he was like hiccuping. And so I just gave him like a, hey, have a good time out there tonight? Yeah, good time. And then he got off on the floor below us, so he walks out, and the elevator doors close. And then I lean over to Matt Burtz, Matt Miller, and I go, boy, that guy was cartoon drunk. And then we just... He starts banging on the door of the elevator. And it's like, holy crap. But the door had already closed. So then it's like, okay, well, I'm sure it's fine. And so then we go up one more floor. And it's in this small hotel. It's in a crappy part of town, right? And so I'm just quickly walking over to the hotel door. And it's like a horror film. And I have the dumb key card trying to get it to work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Finally works. Get in. I grab Matt Burtz, who I was in the room with, pull him in. We close the door. And the second the door closes, we hear this guy storming upstairs, and he's losing it. It's going to be like, come on out! Come on out! And he starts banging on every door.
Oh my God.
And so I'm looking through the eye hole, just thinking like, if this hotel lock doesn't hold, this man's going to murder me. There's no question in my mind that calling this guy cartoon drunk would have gotten all of us murdered. And Burtz is like, he's a cool guy. He's JV-esque, where he likes to be cool. That's a compliment, JV. And so Burtz is like, it's no big deal. He can't get through the door. I dealt with this all the time. I lived in New York. It's no biggie. I don't think I've ever been more scared in my life. Like, just hoping that this door will hold and that he won't find out what room we're in as this crazy murder's running around. But the catch was, we had to get in the taxi to go to the airport. And he was storming around out there forever, like not giving up. And the clock was ticking. And so it was just a matter of like, God, I hope he doesn't pass out.
So it became a stealth mission.
Yeah,
it really was. And so
he's
then
at the end of the hall. We go now.
I was so petrified that he was going to pass out in the hallway, and then I'd have to like tiptoe over him with all of our luggage so we could get down. So an hour later, I didn't see him, and I just booked it. And I ran right into the taxi and got in and closed the door as quickly as possible. And everyone else was trying to be cool, but I really thought I was going to die.
And where was this?
This is in Montreal.
Okay, so this
a
is
lovely city.
This is why you can't go back to Montreal.
That's right. He was the mayor. He will hold me down.
Right.
Does anybody else have any terrible horror stories?
I do.
Oh, please.
Not a cover trip, because I've only done one of those. But when we were in Germany for Gamescom, I don't think this is the year you were with us, Ben.
Yeah.
This was the year after. So it was me and Reeves and Brian Vore and Tack. So we're in the subway, and these hooligans, we'll call it, I don't know if that's the appropriate German term. We come up the subway, and these guys start like getting in my face, and I just ignored them, and everybody just ignored them, and of course Reeves makes eye contact.
Oh Lord!
And that was it, because they started like following him, and I didn't know, because like the thing you do is you just don't make eye contact and you just keep walking. Apparently, Reeves nearly got himself into a bit of trouble.
What happened?
There were a bunch of guys, and I don't know if they were cartoon drunk, but
Well,
they looked like they were ready to get a little physical.
Oh boy! I actually had that in France and Lyon recently too with Reeves, where he and I were walking down the street late at night, and this guy started following us because he heard us talking, and then he was just screaming at us in French, but he would punctuate everything and be like, American, huh? And it was a lot of like weird challenging stuff. And he followed us for like 6 blocks as we just tried to ignore him as successfully as we could. You know, it's
Was it
good
because
times.
Reeves made eye contact?
Yeah, he makes eye contact with everybody.
Reeves has that glare. It just sets people off.
Yeah.
But it was the weirdest thing. So we get to the top of the escalator, and Tack and Brian look at me like, "Why did you just leave him behind?" I'm like, "Leave who? But where the hell is Reeves?"
Oh no.
So
yeah,
he comes up. He's like, well, "That was pretty bad."
It's a dangerous world, and we're wimps and dorks, and we don't handle it well.
And that's why Reeves can't go back to Germany.
That's right. Yeah. All right, so John from Blaine writes in. He says, "Greetings, GI. While listening to Back of the Box Trivia on last week's show, which I always love and try to play along, thank you, I had an idea. I think it'd be fun to hear you guys play a version that instead uses the soundtracks of games. Play the song, and they buzz in when they have a guess sort of type of deal," he writes. Potentially doing it in Name That Tune style, where they bid how many notes they would need to hear to name the game after some hints beforehand. Thanks for all the great pod. John, I swear to God, in my phone for the last 2 years, I've had written down as a note for the podcast, Name That Tune video game style. So don't think that I'm ripping you off, John, but we are totally going to do this.
Did I ever?
Oh, John, why are you encouraging him?
It's going to be fun.
Because like they had right around when Smash Brothers came out, if you bought both the DS and the Wii U version, like you got the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Did I ever pitch you the idea of just random tracking the soundtrack for Super Smash Brothers?
Just Smash's amazing soundtrack?
Yeah, because that has like tons of different games on it.
It's
and
great.
Like
yeah,
soundtracks.
but I still feel like 80% of that we could identify immediately.
yeah, there's be a lot of it that you would get. But did I ever do the actual pitch for that to you? I don't remember if I
Like,
ever
played the songs?
No, just like showed you the CD
Listen to
and
the
been like, hey,
soundtrack.
we
Just
should
do
do
it.
this. Like I don't know if I ever actually.
You pitch
did
a
that
lot
or
of terrible ideas, Kyle.
I pitch a lot of great ideas.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Only
But
great
John,
stuff.
I promise we'll do that. I really want
I
to do
like that
too.
idea, by the way, to John's point.
And
I
now
think
let's
it'd be
get dark, everybody. Greetings, Game Informer crew. I was wondering if anyone on the panel today could resurrect one deceased actor or actress from any era to reprise one role for a movie or TV episode. Which actor or actress would it be for what role? He says, this is Joe from Chicago. He says, I'm torn between Robin Williams or Heath Ledger as another Joker appearance.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is Emperor Palpatine.
Emperor Palpatine. What are you
What?
talking I was
In
there,
episode 8?
What are you on?
I was there for the first half. You lost me during the second half.
Sorry.
Just like a spin-off solo movie
Go on.
with Emperor Palpatine
Exactly.
as a chubby Philip Seymour Hoffman. May he rest in peace.
Yep.
I love Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yep.
All right. I like it. Kyle, who you go with?
I don't have a role necessarily, but I would love to resurrect Mr. Harris Whittles, comedian, actor.
Wow.
I really feel like he did not get a chance to be the hilarious comedian I knew he was going to be before he passed away.
Yeah. If you want to get surreal and you like just absurd comedy, go find the Farts and Procreation
Yes.
episodes of Comedy Bang Bang with him on it. They're so
he did-
funny and stupid.
He is in Parks and Recreation. He is like a recurring character. He's like this stoner in the town.
Okay.
He was a writer on that show. If you don't know who Harris Whittles is, he was a comedian. He showed up on our favorite our favorite comedy podcast, Comedy Bang Bang, a lot. He was a writer on Parks and Rec. He appeared in Parks and Rec as like this stoner character every now and then.
Mhm.
But he passed away. He had a drug overdose and he died young, sadly. And I was a huge fan of his. Like anytime he showed up on a podcast, it was like instant listen. He was hilarious.
I can't remember what it is exactly, but in Louis C.K.'s show Horace and Pete's, I think his last name is something like Whittle. Like his name is Horace
Oh,
Whittle.
really?
And I never know if it's just a weird coincidence or what. But sorry, Mike, who do you got?
Bernie Mac in everything.
For
Love Bernie Mac.
Transformers 6. Let's bring him back to
That's
sell
a good
another
one,
car.
too.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll go with let's see, either John Candy or Phil Hartman.
Oh,
Okay, those
are
both
good.
great choices.
That's
Yeah.
tough.
I'll go.
That's a Sophie's choice.
How about
That's
half and
hard.
half?
Yeah, just stitch them together.
Wow.
The bottom half of John
is
Candy.
Is that a vertical slice
Yeah.
or a horizontal?
But I'll bring Phil Hartman back for like a news radio
Killer's
reunion
choice.
where everybody gets surreal because he
Yeah.
comes back from the dead.
He
That'll be my choice.
Phil Hartman should have had like in the same way, like he should have been. You know how John Lovitz was the critic?
Yeah.
Like Phil Hartman should have had like his own animated show where he played the lead
Troy
character.
McClure?
That's right. Troy
Just basically
McClure
the
should have
same.
had his own spinoff.
All right. This is Mike from San Francisco. He says, wait a second. Yes, Mike from San Francisco. He says, hey, Game Informer, what open world game would you turn into a linear experience, and what linear game would you expand into an open world? I think this is a little bit going off of Reiner on a podcast a little while ago, said he wanted to make a linear version of Fallout, which is blasphemy.
That's a tough question.
My answer, and I don't know if it's quite open world, but similar to the theme of like retrofitting older games. I want them to turn the story content in Old Republic, because there's a lot of really cool stuff in there, into just a KOTOR style game. Just boil it down, shrink down those environments, and just give me like that spy storyline in a more linear RPG.
I'd like a linear Godfather game, because those Godfather games that came out, the open world ones, like they were all right.
Yeah.
But like, I want something that's not a GTA clone
Okay.
with that franchise.
Plus, you could focus on story a little more.
Well, yeah, you could, do the sort of the Alpha Protocol thing. Make your choices, determine what kind of, mafioso you're going to be.
Yeah. All right. Seems okay.
Kyle? I wouldn't mind a more Sly Cooper after the first one went more open, progressively more and more open world. I would like another. It's kind of, I don't know, it's not a great answer for the question, but I would like another more linear Sly Cooper that just focused on like platforming, because the later ones had platforming alongside like a million other things, where the first Sly Cooper was very much like, how good are you at jumping on these platforms and swinging around and stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Futter.
Give me Halo in the style of Far Cry.
That's interesting.
So I really loved ODST. It ranks up very high on my list of Halo games. So that, but bigger with more real open world and opportunities, I'd be on top of that.
Right on. This next email is from Gainesville, Florida, and I forgot to copy
The entire
and paste their
city?
name. Yeah, they all wrote in. Wade Wojcik, who's producing this podcast in the booth, would you want to come out and read this one, please? I think this is something that only Wade can do.
Is
so
he?
Please.
Is he gonna sing all of a sudden?
No. This is an email. Kyle,
okay.
all right, please have a seat and read this
Where'd you
podcast,
come
Wade.
from?
Which one is it? Up top, on top, player.
From Gainesville, Florida. Hello, Wade.
Entire
This is
city.
a little unexpected. Hello. I was in the middle of a Clash Royale game.
No, you're not. You're
I'm-
bad.
I made up this parody after having to watch and listen to Frozen with my kids way too many times. While it is a parody, it is true how I play multiplayer games. I get my friends to play for a bit and then they quit. Do you want to play Modern Warfare parody of Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Oh, so this is a song. Do you want to play some Modern Warfare? Or maybe some Black Ops? We could play some GTA and go melee, beating up some cops.
There you go.
I don't know. Okay, how does it go after that?
We used to be best buddies.
We used to have so much fun playing MP games.
But now we're not.
Why did we have to stop? Do you want to play some Modern Warfare? I guess not.
That was beautiful. Good. I can't believe you just didn't know the soundtrack for Frozen off the top of your head, like
Wait.
me who's watched the movie a bajillion times.
I just assumed you sang that as you drove into work every single morning.
See, the thing that I sing during these replay episodes, the super replay, is Adele, typically.
All right, we'll cut it
so
off
given
there.
your Adele parodies,
Well, there we go. I hope that person enjoyed that. All right. This person, Nick from New Hampshire, writes in and says, "Hey, Nong Man." Kyle?
Well, now we reset.
That's right.
Okay.
Comedy Bang Bang, everybody. Any restaurant bar recommendations for a first-timer in Minneapolis? I'll be driving 1,500 miles to the Twin Cities for my first Summer Games Done Quick, and I'd love to get the full experience. Summer Games Done Quick, it's going on right now. It's just wrapping up, actually, at the end of this week. But it's an awesome speedrunning charity event. You should go check out the highlights for sure. There's been a lot of amazing stuff so far. We had a couple guys in the office just speedrun Doom and Fallout 4, so check out those videos on our site or their archives, and feel free to donate to Doctors Without Borders. But first time in Minneapolis, what should people check out?
I don't know, man. I don't know the city very well.
Kyle doesn't leave his house. JV, what's been the most impressive thing in Minneapolis so far since you moved here?
All right. As a recent resident, I'm really fond of this place near me called Cafetto. It's a really weird cafe that has pirate ships everywhere and like paintings of captains and stuff.
What the hell are you
It's
doing?
really bizarre, but it's a
Sounds
great
cool to
place
me.
to go work because it's kind of like the coffee version of Cheers. Like only a handful of people go there every time.
Okay.
And like I don't know any of them by
Midwesterners
name.
are So weird.
Wait,
yeah. What, you don't like pirates and coffee shops, Mike?
Yeah, you were playing Black Flag this
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
What's
Come on
going
down, Mike. It's Black Flag.
I
the
was
cafe.
stabbing people.
Oh,
with
yeah.
Black Flag.
I mean, you can do
do
that
it.
here. You'll go to jail, but
Yeah.
you know, you can. That's a thing you can do.
You know, in New Jersey, it's just what we do.
It's tough. So for like ideal Minneapolis experience, you got to go Stone Arch Bridge, and you walk across that. You walk along that strip there. It's a very beautiful view of downtown Minneapolis. You can go to the Guthrie, and you can go to a little walkway.
Oh yeah,
out
you
on
can go
top
in there anytime. That's cool.
That's true. Places to eat. My favorite place is Chimborazo, Ecuadorian in Northeast Minneapolis, but I understand that's not great.
My favorite's the Bad Waitress.
Okay.
Yeah, down on Eat Street, Nicollet. It's
Yeah.
delicious. They've got great breakfast food all day long.
Stuart Blessman writes in with a similar point, and this will debate bone-in or boneless wings, and why is D-Spot the best? Everyone says D-Spot best wings in Minneapolis. Disagree. Got to go Spring Street. Spring Wings. Spring Street, everybody.
I've had there.
And bone-in. Clearly, it's the only way to go.
I feel like we don't have to surface this, but isn't it bone in versus like chicken nuggets?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
either be an adult or be a little baby man.
It's bone in and it's Duff's in Buffalo.
Duff's and Buffalo. There we go. So Paisley writes in and says, "Hey, GI crew, this isn't really a question involving video games, but I'm desperate. I recently moved to Minneapolis to attend school at the University of Minnesota, but my classes won't start until the fall, which means my default for friend making isn't currently relevant. Until then, I'm stuck in my apartment hopelessly trying to make friends. I've heard it can be hard for transplants to make friends in the Twin Cities, and I'm wondering if you guys have any advice. Thanks. I really love the show and the Uncharted 4 discussion. Thank you, Paisley." Friend-making advice in Minneapolis, you guys.
When you move to Minneapolis, bring a family with you, and mostly just hang out with them. Bring your pregnant
Fantastic.
wife. I don't
Boy,
have a lot of.
That's great advice.
I know. I don't. The thing is, it's funny because you're like when I moved here, my wife was like 8 months pregnant, so
Yeah.
we never really went out to Minneapolis and like hung out and stuff like that because we like our lives changed very dramatically right when I got here to raising a child. So I don't have a lot of advice for
Right.
how to make friends in a new city other than work at a cool job with lots of cool people that you.
When it
like
comes
a lot.
to college, I know you're not starting it yet. I remember Larry Miller, the comedian, one time had my favorite piece of advice for making friends in college or just going through college in general. His advice was, shut up, have a beer, and talk to the girl on the moped. That will always stand with me. Like, yeah, just go out on a limb every once in a while. Just relax, but yet reach out every once in a while and say hi. That's all you got to do. But for this person specifically, I would recommend just to like meet up with some gaming people. Like, there's Twin Cities Social, there's Reddit communities all over the place. But Glitch, who we've worked with in the past, at GlitchCon, we've mentioned on the podcast and whatnot, every Friday from 5 to 7, I believe, they open their doors to like playtesting. So go playtest some local indie games there. That'll be a great time. You can find it online.
and that's right on campus, right?
Yeah, for
University of
sure.
Minnesota?
Yeah, I think they'd be a great place to meet some similar-minded people. JV, how do you make friends?
I make friends. I don't know. I just talk to random people, actually. I get drunk enough and I talk to random people, and then I become friends.
Yeah?
That's what happens.
When's the
Hit
last
up
time
the
this happened?
Hit up the Pirate Cafe
2 weeks ago.
Nice and plastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
what friend did you make?
His name was Jim. I haven't really talked to Jim since then, but we became friends.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
See, there we go, Paisley. Just befriend Jim.
Yeah.
Find
Uh,
someone on a moped.
Yeah.
That's right.
There
But
you go.
Glitch headquarters is going to be my recommendation. All right, favorite email of the week. What do you guys like?
It's a little somber, but I like the dead actor person.
Yeah, I'm going with that
email.
one. That's my vote.
Futter, how do you feel?
What's your vote?
You guys are grizzly. Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, and Grizzly Adams is my choice, actually. So, all right, congratulations. This is Joe from Chicago. We'll send you out something real nice. Thank you so much. And now, sadly, because we need that computer, I think we're going to lose Futter for the next segment, but thank you for joining us, Futter.
Bye, everybody.
Get
Thanks
out.
for having me.
And now we're going to take some community phone calls through Skype. So let's dive into that.
Let's do it.
Au revoir.
Bye, Mike.
And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We swapped out a Mike Futter and we got a Kimberly Wallace on here. Welcome, Kim.
Wow, hello.
Oh, hi, Kim.
So we are going blindly into some Skype calls. We don't know exactly who this is and what their question is going to be. Have you done this before, Kim?
No, I have not.
It's raw, it's funky, it's good, it's grimy.
They always
Oh,
ask inappropriate
boy.
questions.
I
Alright,
love
awesome.
thinking off the top of my head.
Let's go. Way in the booth. You want to pop in the first person here?
We got John Bucket.
Hi.
Hi,
uh,
welcome to the Game Informer Show,
Hi,
sir.
John.
Is Charlie and the
Uh,
Chocolate Factory your favorite book, Mr. Bucket?
Yeah, that and the Willy Wonka, the Gene Wilder movie.
Of course.
Good
Of course,
choice.
there's a good response to the earlier email about who you want to revive. It's Gene Wilder's
He's-
living corpse.
I was like,
Anyways,
he's alive.
John Bucket, what's your question for us, man?
Are my levels okay?
You sound so good, John.
Good. Thank you, first off, Hanson, for Replay. It got me into video editing and the stuff I'm doing now. So
Oh, right on. What are you doing now?
I'm at a broadcasting school. I'm going into live streaming and trying to do essentially like Replay type stuff.
Oh,
Non-copyright infringing, of course.
cool. Oh, I don't care. We just play old games.
Yeah,
It's no
hey,
big
that's
deal.
our game. Yeah, no one else can play you over, blood.
Sorry.
Yeah, fair enough.
But do you have a question for us?
Yeah, I had a question. With Microsoft's push onto the PC, I like it as a PC gamer myself, but how does it affect the console market? With no exclusives, why should I buy an Xbox One if I have a computer?
If you're really lazy and you want something to plug into your TV, I think that's Microsoft's goal. It's nice to have that avenue. Like we were just talking about earlier on this show about trying to play Dead by Daylight without a mouse and keyboard easily hooked up to your TV. So there is a certain ease of use in the console crowd. What do you guys think?
I agree with that sentiment pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a great question. Like, it is a valid question. But then there's someone like me who really struggles with PC games. Like, 100% of the PC games I play, I run into an issue of some kind where I have to change a setting or a controller doesn't work or something. So I just really embrace console gaming. Like when Diablo 3 came out, and I remember just watching my wife struggle to try to play Diablo 3, and Max Payne 3 came out on the same day, and I was like 2 hours into Max Payne 3 and my wife hadn't even started Diablo 3 yet. And it just always seems to be the case with PC gaming.
Struggle? I'm sorry, John. We're going to get sidetracked here because Kyle's an idiot. What do you mean struggle? You change a setting like it's the worst thing in the world?
Yeah, it's a barrier to entry.
To have to change a graphical setting?
Yes.
It's not like you have to go in and program half the game yourself.
Of
You
course
click a
not.
button.
But like I go to play Gone Home and it just doesn't work. And I have to spend an extra. I've only got like an hour to play. If I'm spending 15 minutes of that trying to figure out how to get the
Wait,
game
you
to
couldn't
function.
get Gone Home up and running?
Gone Home gave me problems when I tried to play it on PC.
Guys, stop Kyle shaming.
Yeah, John, what don't you like about Kyle?
Well, I would say to counter his point, the whole reason I got a PC is because I wanted to play Fallout 4, but then it just didn't work on my PS4. So I built a computer so it would run things.
See, to each their own. Do you currently own an Xbox One, John?
No, just I have a PS4 because I needed Bloodborne. And that's about it, it seems.
Let's see, you could buy an Xbox One for Halo Wars 2, so you could go up against the PC community with inferior controls if you're into that sort of thing.
I guess I could also just plug the controller into my PC.
You know what? That might be the better solution. So I wish I had an answer for you, John, but thank you for calling into the Game Informer show, man.
Thank you guys for everything you do.
Oh, God bless you, John. All right, take care. Hello, Nick Ransbottom.
Hey,
Hey, welcome back, sir. You were on the last time we did this.
I think I was, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, good to have you. We have Kim, we have Kyle, we have Javy.
All my least favorite people.
God, you're a real dick sometimes. What's your question, Nick?
Okay, so I want to know who your favorite video game composers are.
That's a good question.
Mitsuda for me.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to go to straight away.
Yeah, it's a bulk of the Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross soundtracks is amazing.
I just don't-
Xenogears' first soundtrack is so good. Kim, what other favorites do you have
that's
of
like
his?
my favorite.
Xenoblade, he co-composed really solid stuff.
Yeah,
in
if
there.
I were to list off my favorite soundtracks, they're all Mitsuda. So
I like Disaster Piece a lot. Fez and Hyper Light Drifter and Danny Baranowski for Super Meat Boy. I do random music a lot on my iPod, and I'm always excited when the Super Meat Boy soundtrack comes up. It's good.
You're talking about the new one, right?
No, the original one.
Which actually it isn't that bad. Like, remember they had to gut the soundtrack to re-release it. And whatnot.
It's tough to play without that original soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
but I like those guys a lot. He also he did the Danny also did the remade Cave Story soundtrack when they remade the game. Which was cool. Like the soundtrack was very cool.
For the 3DS?
For the 3DS. He
never
basically
heard that.
redid it. Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people aren't talking enough about Hyper Light Drifter?
Yeah. I think it's because it's not on consoles yet.
Is it coming soon?
It's supposed to be this year.
Huh.
It's a great game.
Yeah, I feel like
but
it
so
kind of
many
just dropped off the
people
radar.
have Steam now that I would think that they would play it on there.
I don't know.
Some of us have a Mac.
It's on Mac.
Oh.
No
Oh,
excuses.
is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have an excuse.
Go play that. It's a good game.
If you want to. All right, JV, what stands out for you?
Probably Austin Wintory, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Jasper, what's his name?
Jesper Kidd.
Who did the Hotline Miami stuff. Or
Oh wait, is that the same
I think
Jesper
we're
Kidd as
thinking different
Assassin's
people.
Creed?
No, not Jasper Kidd. I can't remember his last name, but Jasper something. He did the original Hotline Miami soundtrack,
Okay.
the majority of it.
All right, right on.
Yeah, because that was kind of an amalgamation of like different artists and stuff.
Right.
he
But
was
like the main
guy.
theme, and then
Gotcha.
like half the album is from him.
Yeah, the soundtrack for that game's great.
Nick, what about you?
Yoko Shimomura.
Yes,
Who-
Kingdom
yeah.
Hearts.
Exactly.
There you go. That would probably be my second.
She was great. We interviewed her on the
Mhm.
Final Fantasy trip. It's up in her hub for Final Fantasy 15. You can Google that. She did not like close-ups on her face. She was not a fan of that specific aspect, but crazy legendary composer. Worked on Street Fighter 2,
Mhm.
Kingdom Hearts.
The Mario and Luigi RPGs, I think she
yes.
did.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
including
she's
the first
great.
Super Mario RPG. Good call. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a weird fan base around her. Like when we posted that video, there's so many people came out of the woodwork like, Shimamura-san, you're a god. Marry me. And she was super, super nice. So good call, Nick.
Well, thank you.
Right on. Well, thanks for calling in, dude.
All right, you guys have a good day.
You too.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Ian.
Hey,
welcome,
Hanson.
welcome to the Game
Hi.
Informer Show. Have you called in before?
No, I've emailed.
Okay, I feel like I know your name really well, but what's going on, man?
Nothing much. I got home as quick as I could, so I had to pack up my burger so I could get here to call because I wanted to ask you guys a question.
It's about how to keep a
this
burger
is-
warm.
We come before burgers. This is great.
Yeah. All the time, every day, I make that sacrifice.
Wait, let's ask you a question first. What burger? What kind of burger?
Oh, it's a local place. Five Brothers is what it's called, and it's
Five brothers?
What?
Not guys, brothers.
So
yeah.
not a Royale with cheese.
Look, like we got to be distinct. All right, we're not five guys. We're five
maybe it's three
siblings.
brothers. I don't know how many there are, but it was it
Sounds
had
delicious.
blue cheese on it.
No,
No,
That's-
blue cheese is good.
no,
Hanson.
it's
Yes,
it's-
it is.
blue,
Yes,
blue
it is.
cheese has never improved
If you
anything.
just want to eat blue cheese, because that's all you'll taste.
It was just blue cheese in between two buns.
That's a grilled cheese sandwich, my friend.
Well, hey, thanks for calling in, Ian. All right, we'll talk to you now. What's your question, man?
So it's an email question. So if you don't want to answer it, I can field another one. But Kojima said that Death Stranding is going to be a new genre of game, and I'm having a hard time imagining what that could mean.
Yeah.
What did you guys take away from the trailer? What genre do you predict it will be? What new gameplay elements could he be talking about? Or does he have no idea what the game will be and Sony just wanted to show something off?
I think it's that very last one.
Yeah.
He's still figuring stuff out, but wants to be Kojima innovative, probably in some way.
I really want to know how much of the game he has mapped out. Like he's kind of getting the cart in front of the horse a little bit here, where he's so into marketing and so into communicating and teasing and laying out these themes. Like you always hear stories about how he starts out every Metal Gear development with like the one word that summarizes it. Like 5 was race, 2 was meme, 1 was gene, and now this is about sticks and strings and ropes and
He
whales.
does, the sticks point is interesting to me because like he was saying, like, you know, you invent the rope and the stick, etc. That to me says it will have like some action element, which is what I think he was openly trying to imply. Like you will be fighting something in some way. So like I don't know how. I don't know if it'll be the new genre. That's a pretty bold thing to say. I mean, I imagine it'll be an open world action game. That's kind of what I think it'll be. I mean,
Yeah, well, open land and sea, I think,
Oh, there you go.
as you go
oil cover.
court the whales. Yeah, the new genre thing, I think that's just him trying to make a splash. If you look back at like his earliest quotes about 5, it gets insane. Him talking with this taboo that he's shattering with this game, and still, like we talked about with Joe, no one knows what the hell that was talking about. Maybe quiet, maybe it was a taboo to feature.
I thought he was going all in on like child warfare or something. That's what I took away from like the trailers and everything.
But even that, it was like escort these kids back to your mother base, and that's about it. I mean, it seemed like Metal Gear Solid 2 with Raiden's backstory got more into that stuff than 5 really did, from what I remember. So I call BS on the new genre thing. I would love to see it. I would love to see this game just get absolutely nuts. But it seems like a lot of the fan theories are that it's about time travel.
Really, my takeaway was that it's going to be totally kind of like a ecology message or something like that, because
It's totally
in an
gonna be about
interview someone
pollution.
asked like, is this the game you want to make, and he said this is the game that needs to be made or something around those lines.
We do know black holes will be involved. In
Is that
some
true?
way. There's like on one of an asset on the website. If you zoom in on Norman Reedus's what are they, dog tags?
Yeah.
There's math equations on there that are related to black holes.
Flash drives. Someone said they're flash drives.
Okay.
Oh,
So
interesting.
there's-
Okay.
I've also heard theories about like a Noah's Ark sort of like relation
Oh
where
my
it's like
God, please.
like where they're like
Kojima's take on Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
I've never wanted anything more
like
now.
saving, trying to preserve humanity in the face of, going wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So he has to put all these babies
Can't wait
inside
to
of a
learn
whale.
more. Yes, just fill that.
I just
whale
can't
with
wait to
babies.
be naked Norman Reedus for the entire game.
Yeah, it's kind of like Naked Snake, kind of, right?
Yeah,
Naked
except
Norman
literally.
Reedus.
Well, it's like the end of Metal Gear Solid 2. Every time you do a cartwheel, you have to cover
That's
your
right.
junk.
Yep.
It's very specific. All right, Ian, thanks for calling in, sir. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.
You too.
Hello, Tanner. You're on the Game Informer Show with Kimberly Wallace, Kyle Hilliard, Javy Gwaltney, and myself. What's going on, man?
Whoa, hey, how's it going?
Whoa, hey,
Tanner.
welcome to the big show.
I just came right home, put it on, and instantly here I am. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a weird world filled with tech, but what's your question? What's going on, man?
Hey, my name's Tanner. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. Shout out to Kyle.
Hey, you don't get to do that.
I wrote this in as an email not too long ago and it didn't get read, so here we are.
Sorry, Jay.
Go ahead.
Basically, I was just wondering what you guys think as...
Oh, no. We lost him.
We lost Tanner. Hello, Tanner?
Hey, we shouldn't have praised Skype technology too much, I don't think.
Yeah, that's very true. All right, sorry. Rush through your question. Maybe we can...
Yeah, real quick. So I was just wondering, both as like critics and just on a personal level, how much attention you pay to like UI and HUD elements of games.
Oh, wow.
Because personally, that's one of my favorite parts. Well, not favorite parts, but it's really important for appreciating a game. And that's part of the reason I love the Persona team's effort so much through Persona and Catherine, which I know we're going to do as a game club next time. So really excited about that.
Yeah, let's do it, Hanson. Come on now. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I will say I either like notice it a lot, and if it's great, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And if it's, or I don't notice it at all when it's passable, or it's just like, if it's garbage and then I notice it. But most of the time I'm in that middle ground of like, if it's functional, I usually don't pay a lot of attention to it.
It's actually something I've come to appreciate in the last couple of years are developers who add options to mess around with the HUD.
Mhm.
Like Doom has that option. Like normally Doom has a bunch of stuff on the corners of the screen and you can remove all of that. Nearly everything you can remove from Doom's HUD. And you can also do that in Far Cry Primal, which, makes for a more immersive experience.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really notice heads-up display stuff unless like there are options to remove it that I notice, and then I just start messing around with those to see how it changes the experience.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I think it'll come up a fair amount in our game club next week for Deus Ex Human Revolution because it's a big part of that. But I'm glad you mentioned the Persona team because I started playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and that is by far my favorite thing about the game is like the menu and UI design. I don't know if I'll keep playing it beyond that. I'm sorry, Kim.
Don't break my heart here.
Yeah, I want to like it. I really do. I started it and it was like, I was talking to Joe about it in the kitchen, but it was such a weird impulse because I kept telling myself, it's a weird instinct to have about a genre, but I just kept telling myself, like, what if I just played through this entire thing? Like a crazy dare. Like, what if I just played this crazy JRPG? What if I just didn't stop?
40-hour
commitment. It's probably not the best thing to say about the state of a genre. It's like, oh, this would be crazy if I actually played this game. But like the dungeons in the beginning, at least, it's just like boring catwalk to boring catwalk.
The dungeons are not great.
Okay.
But the silly story and the boss battles are really cool.
Yeah, like a lot of the visuals and like I said,
As the one
UI.
complaint I had in my review was I thought the dungeons and the puzzles within them could be a little more fun.
Yeah.
But I liked how they were themed, but the puzzles within for those themes were not as great. So
are the dungeons going to be better in Persona 5? Because the UI in Persona 5 from those videos looks amazing.
The Persona games, I mean, that's definitely something they worked on, and I feel they learned a bit from trying to do like the Persona Q and even like Golden, like having the themes within them. And hopefully they do more with them. I mean, the design looks great. I don't know what it'll be, but I know that was some complaints that people liked doing the dungeon crawls, but wanted a little bit more to their dungeons than just that. So.
I mean, the jump in quality from Persona 3's dungeons to Persona 4's dungeons,
that's what
is
I'm saying.
amazing.
That's what I'm saying. They've had so much time to kind of learn from that, and also doing, like I said, Persona Q helped, no doubt, with that.
Yeah, and my favorite UI is Dead Space. I really like Dead Space's UI.
I can't even remember Dead Space's UI.
It's all like off screen. It's like on your character's back and stuff.
Oh yeah,
That is
that's
super
right.
smart.
It's literally centered on the character. That's right.
Well, that's interesting. I feel like as the industry has matured, maybe kind of Eco and Shadow help pioneer this a little bit more, or even Another World, which again that might be coming up in replay. I feel like less UI, the better, has kind of been the mantra overall in the industry. But I feel like the Atlas team just completely flips that on its head, where they have a ton on screen, but it's just so stylish enough that you don't really mind. So Tanner, I'm curious, what stands out to you recently, UI wise?
Well, definitely the stuff you guys mentioned for sure. I was going to say conversely, I think it can hinder a game for me, which is maybe why I was put off from Demon's Souls the first time I played it, because of how cluttered those menus were.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair.
I'm going to try Bloodborne. We have it, and maybe that improves it a little bit. But Yeah, I mean, what you guys said, I've seen my brother playing Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I love the menu screen of them laying down in the field. I think that's
so
awesome.
cool. Yeah. It's the opening of Boyhood in a menu screen. But something that I'm obsessed with UI, and I've brought it up a couple times, and some people think I'm crazy, but I really want to get a sense of how much Destiny has changed UI design since it came out a couple years ago. Like, I feel like maybe I'm just noticing it after Destiny, but like the soft button presses seems to be getting more and more popular, where instead of like opening this treasure chest or activating this by just hitting square once, you have to hold it for a little bit while the meter fills. Maybe it's just Destiny had the biggest impact on me, but I'm convinced that like that softer interface instead of easily letting you make a mistake with the button press has become more and more prevalent in the industry.
I feel like I noticed it for the first time in Fable 2, where it basically took away the interaction of, did you mean to press that? You know, it's like, do you want to commit to this? And I think it's a really smart way to do that, and I think it works really well, and I'm happy to see other people adopting it.
Yeah, I mean, Far Cry is another good example where picking anything, you have to hold that down, stuff like that. I feel like Dragon Age or any RPG where you're picking something in a field, you hold it down now instead of just tapping it once. All right, but hey, Tanner, thank you for calling in, man.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, bye.
Enjoy the heat.
Yeah.
Hello, Thomas.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, pretty good, man. Welcome to the Game Informer Show. You're on with Kim and Kyle and Javy.
Kim and Kyle and Javy and Ben.
Yeah, that's right. I'm always here.
Yeah, that guy.
Thanks for calling in. Are you from the Facebook group or?
Yeah, and I actually and Twitter. We've talked on Twitter a few times.
Oh, fantastic! What did we talk about?
I sent you a Jurassic Park Jeep once that someone in Houston had like decked out.
Of course, I love it. I feel like those pictures pop up on Reddit once every 6 months. Like, I saw a Jurassic Park Jeep driving around.
It's just the same guy.
Yeah,
just traveling the United States.
We used to have a Ford Explorer in my family, and it was from like 1994, so just close enough to the Ford Explorers in Jurassic Park where I wanted to like completely overhaul it and paint it. But I'm sorry, you probably had a non-Jurassic Park related question.
Actually, no, that was it. I just wanted to tell you that.
Hey, remember that time I sent you that picture? This is my favorite memory.
All right, so my question, so I don't take too much of your time. I was playing Rocket League this weekend.
God bless you.
Okay, right? God bless me. And I had a thought. I used to be a big Sonic fan. Okay, I grew up with the Genesis. That was my first
love.
It was my first console. Sonic was thus my first love. And I started thinking, out of all the developers out there, it would be cool if someone gave Psyonix a try, just the vibe, or if someone let them give Sonic a try. Just the vibe of Rocket League fits so well with what I actually think is cool about Sonic.
Like Thomas, you're out of your mind. What are you talking about? How would this work? Like what exactly? You just want to have that sense of speed and like 90s neon and stuff?
Speed is great, and the look of the world I think would just be kind of fun.
It would be interesting to see Psyonix like take a single player sort of approach. Right, because I mean, they haven't really done a lot of single player stuff.
They have.
Right, that's the only thing I didn't know is if it's anything they could actually do.
Yeah, right? Watch like Sonic controls beautifully, but all the level designs are just
just awful.
This isn't right, but I know they said that like they want to publish their own games going into the future. So I hope they're using some of that sweet Rocket League cash to get experimental, and maybe platformers are the way to go. Everyone's like throwing out there like, oh, just do like a Twisted Metal style clone, or even something with racing seems to be the obvious conclusion, but.
Right.
Why not race on two legs as Sonic?
Yeah, it just seemed to me that the controls are so tight while also giving a sense of speed.
Yeah.
I thought that would be cool.
Realistically, Thomas, you're just going to get like a Rocket League piece of DLC where you can get Sonic's giant dumb head on top of a car.
His head on a car.
Yeah, and instead of the speed boost, it's just going to be rings around the field. That's realistically where we're going.
That'll be Nintendo's E3 announcement.
Because that's all they know how to do is like parade his carcass around as DLC.
I think
that's all they know how to do.
But who else would you want to tackle Sonic? Maybe let's expand it there.
I would want Ansel's team who did Rayman. Like there's so many curved like platforms already, and like roundabouts and stuff could easily fit in there. I think
that's pretty on the nose. I guess that's pretty much it.
I like it. I think Ubi Art Games make themselves just go back to that engine, crank some stuff out.
I want a Sweary Sonic game.
Sweary Sonic, that would be really good. I'd like to see how
dark as hell Sonic.
What about like a BioWare like Sonic RPG?
Hang on,
but it's autobiographical about Sonic dealing with his fall from fame. You know.
Is
that what to come to terms?
Yeah, that's what that game was about.
Is that what the DS game was about? Oh, I never played it.
All right,
guys.
Take care.
Have
Bye.
a good one.
Hello, Enrique. Welcome to the Game Informer Show. You're on with Kim, Kyle, and JV.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey,
Hiya.
welcome. What's up, man?
I'm calling from Spain.
Oh,
Wow.
fantastic. What time is it over there?
It's 11:30 p.m.
I like at radio shows where they always ask that. It's like, there's never a conclusion where it's like, holy cow. It's like, yep, all right, that seems about right. But do you have a question, Enrique?
I don't know if you guys look too much to the PSN store, but lately I've been seeing a lot of weird games, maybe not too good, very like it's turning like Steam quality games, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have an opinion of that, if you think that the PSN should be more curated or the games should be better or things like that.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's interesting. I guess I haven't noticed that specifically, but I rarely just scroll through new releases. Like on Steam, I always see it, and it's just descended into Android port hell. So it'd be sad if the console market followed it.
Well, I mean, I think that's sort of the double-edged sword of having digital distribution platforms because, you know, you'll get like that stuff makes it possible for indie developers like Nina Freeman to make like Sybil and stuff and, you know, other stuff like Gone Home and to have those games come out and not have to deal with like, you know, manufacturing a physical product. But at the same time, when you have an open market with digital distribution, you get the Android clones, you get the crappy stuff. So,
and not
you know,
that it's open on
well,
PlayStation.
it's pretty open though. Like if they're they've let some terrible stuff in there. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it should be more curated. Like at least some more checks because they let broken games on there all the time.
Really? What
Yeah,
kind of
like
stuff?
straight up just broken 2-player local co-op sort of stuff that just doesn't really work.
Are they just opening the floodgates, hoping that one of these small indie games just becomes a sensation that everybody has to rush out and buy a PS4 just to play this thing? It's always confusing what their strategy is.
Honestly.
I mean, that's kind of what happened with Rocket League. You know, I know obviously that's a little bit different because that was PS Plus, but you know, their last game before that was what, a mobile game? You know,
oh God, I don't even remember.
You know, if you haven't played Rocket League is like sort of the same VR thing. Like, I don't think you believe in Rocket League until you get your hands on it and you're like, oh, I get it now.
And you don't believe in their new bold vision for a Sonic game until you've also played it and realized, my God, putting feet on these wheels.
Yeah, I will say, like, curation is good. Like, a lot of developers, like, complained about the Xbox Live Arcade, like, openly, like Phil Fish with Fez and the Super Meat Boy guys. Like, it was a pain in the ass to work with Microsoft in that previous generation, but, like, the Xbox Live Arcade was also home to just, like, a fantastic library of games. Like, it was pretty consistently good.
Right. You know? Every featured game throughout the summer months was like, hey, this is a tentpole. This is going to be a big deal. And now it just comes down to the big indie deals are what gets on stage at E3 or other conventions.
Yeah, and I still think it's hard to find, like, what you're looking for on the PSN store. I still have that problem where, like, something will be out and I'll go looking for it. Like the day that the Resident Evil 7 demo came out.
Yeah.
You had to type that in to find it at first. Like eventually they put it up on there, but it was so hard to find at first. So
beginning hour. Yuck. It's a good point though, Enrique. I guess I should search through that PlayStation store a little bit more and see what's new coming out there. Because more is not always better. But thanks for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thanks to everybody that called in. What a weird segment, but I always like doing it. At some point, I would like to do that for the entire show. JV, what's that face?
It's your show, man. It's your show.
I love it.
All right.
I think it'd be
we
great.
like talking to the people.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good to shake up the
people from
interaction.
Spain. It's 11:30 at night over there, as we discovered.
It's everything you want. All right, but thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show. Be sure to tune in next week. Hopefully, with you having played up through Detroit in Deus Ex Human Revolution. And we'll have a new episode waiting for you. All right, bye, everybody.